right, can I have a motion to open our public meeting? Can I have a motion to open? Ed, seconded by Ms. Stevenson. Karen, are you able to call roll?
Yes. Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Parlamas?
Here.
Dr. Pucci Bender?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
Dr. Robbins?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. I'll actually do the flag salute today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of meeting in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of tonight's meeting was mailed to the record in the Ridgewood News on January 6, 2026. Notice of this meeting was also mailed to the Borough Clerk and was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education office in the Administration Building on the same date. All right. Are you able to read our mission statement, please?
The Glen Rock School District, founded on principles of education, in partnership with the supportive community, provides an exceptional education to all students to cultivate resilient, responsible, and engaged global citizens. I'd like to also just take this moment to share that Glen Rock's lost a beloved member of the community, Mrs. Karen Mitchell, who was a loved teacher at Central School and a longtime Glen Rock resident, who's recently passed away. And I'd like to take a moment of silence just to reflect on the impact that all teachers, especially her, have on this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Good evening, everyone. I know I'm not usually in attendance for the first meeting of the month, but since the last two regular meetings were canceled due to snow days, I'm here, and I have a lot of updates to my last report, so let's jump right in. So both basketball teams are currently playing in the state sectional tournament, with both playing their third round games tomorrow, so good luck to them. 3 of our wrestlers placed top 3 in their weight classes at the NJSIAA district tournament, qualifying for the regional tournament, which will take place on Friday night. And the winter track team continues to set what seems like school record after school record just all the time, with multiple athletes qualifying for the nationals in Boston. And spring sports will begin practices next Monday, so stay tuned for updates on them. I also just wanted to highlight the Vocal Music Winter Concert, which was on December 17th. It was a long time ago. But multiple choirs of the Glen Rock High School students sang songs from around the world across many time periods and themes. And I just want to say how impressed I was with the exceptional level of musical talent of those students, and I'm very excited to attend the spring concert. On February 26th, the inaugural class of the Psi Alpha Psychology Honor Society was inducted, so congratulations to those psychology students. And overall, morale is pretty high in the hallways as semester 2 is in full swing, especially with the success by the sports teams as well as the exciting spring events coming up. I also just wanted to take the time to address Policy 2430, which I had previously proposed a change for. I understand the concerns about staffing as well as efficiency when it comes to how many students are actually interested in the club and whether that club already exists. However, I still want to highlight the importance of publicizing the criteria to get a club approved, as I feel it's unfair for students who fill out the application and are unaware of why it might not succeed. And to that end, I also want to suggest that if the same once per year application cycle is kept, it happens during the school year rather than in the summer, so that students are able to potentially meet with the review board and speak to them about why their club may not have been approved. It would also allow students to begin club programming in that same school year, which is important for a club sustainability, a key part of the process which was mentioned in the last meeting. I also agree with the recommendations that some clubs can and should start outside of school and then be brought onto campus once they've been established. And I'd actually like to propose a program that should be implemented to set some clubs that were denied approval on a track to be approved later on. If, for example, a student wanted to start a club but was unable to garner the necessary support from other students for that approval, that club could operate outside of school until a later year's application cycle, once it's been able to obtain that level of membership. These clubs, which would of course be aligned with school rules and policies, should also be able to advertise within the school as the same way as as current clubs do, such as during the club walk around or posting flyers in the hallways. This issue is very important to the Glen Rock High School student community, and while I understand the concerns about changing parts of this policy, I'm committed to working with you all, as well as the review board, to compromise and ensure expanded access to extracurricular opportunities for all students. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Hudson, and thank you for your insight and advocacy. Thank you.
Just a few things. This morning I was looking at the weather and it told me that today is going to be the coldest day until next winter. Isn't that a nice one? You know that this is it. We're going to start warming up, so I'm looking forward to that. It's nice to see the snow melting out there. Also, one of my favorite days of the year, if daylight savings time beginning. I love it when it's light after work again. Just a couple updates as things move into the spring. We have right now 147 kindergartners registered for next year, which is right on pace with where we normally are for the year. We also have 15 pre-K registrations, that's tuition-paying students in the pre-K, with a wait list of maybe 10 or 12 kids on top of that. So we can expect to have a full house next year, which is great. We're really happy to see that program thrive. The couple updates that I want to give real quick. We do a full-on program of studies update for the high school, because it's a much more formalized thing. With the middle school, we just kind of give general updates about things that might be changing in the curriculum for next year. And really, there isn't a lot of change except in the music program. We're always looking to offer electives that students want to take and to drive some interest there. So the music teachers have been working on some new or some revamped courses that I want to just bring to the board's attention. We're looking at where we go, Choir 6, adding that to our list of opportunities for our youngest in the middle school, our 6th graders. A new course called Music on the Screen. So it's about music and kind of its importance, not just in TV and movies and film, but also in video games and online, video kinds of things. So the impact of music on those things. They're revamping the Broadway workshop course to make it a little bit more, hopefully a little bit more interesting to some of the students. And also revamping the course on music legends, which is kind of about the big name music legends in the music industry. And then lastly, a new course called World Percussion, which we're hoping will bring in some interest there in our music program. So we're looking forward to seeing those, and students will have the option to rank those as their choices when they're in middle school. And then the last thing that I want to update the board on, I was talking with Dr. Robinson, and I know I emailed you about this last week or the week before. Talked with Melissa Del Rosso, who's the New Jersey School Board's rep for our area, about looking into that strategic planning and profile of a graduate or profile of a learner work that they do. So she and I talked today about that for a bit. She agrees this would be really good work for us to be doing. They are kind of revamping the way that they approach that in school boards, that it used to be two separate things, the profile of a graduate and the kind of strategic planning piece, and now they're lumping it into one thing. I think that she said it was generally it's 3 sessions of community input, in bringing folks in to talk about it. There is a small cost in addition to our New Jersey School Board's membership, but it sounds like a promising thing. She is available if we're interested in coming here at our next meeting on March 23rd to just talk about the process a little bit more with us. She's not available that night for the full-on training that she's going to do on April 6th. We couldn't schedule her for the 23rd, but she can swing by here on the 23rd to talk with all of you about that if this is something we'd like to pursue. I see heads nodding. Okay, I'll reach out to her tomorrow and ask her to come on the 23rd, and we can chat more about it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. So I see on our agenda next is our Student Safety Data System and HIP report. Thank you, Ms. Del Fortuna.
Okay, so it's that time of year again where I report out the student safety data system. This is for reporting period 1, which runs through September through to December. So we report out twice a year, reporting period 1 and reporting period 2. This is just a review of our current anti-bullying specialists across the district. In the fall, we have our annual meeting with the anti-bullying specialists. I meet with all the anti-bullying specialists to review responsibilities, procedures, expectations, to ensure consistency across the schools. Throughout the year, I provide ongoing support to specialists, including guidance and assistance with investigations as needed. In particular, we do have 2 new anti-bullying specialists. So in those cases, I'll provide support specifically with investigations and following up at the building level to ensure all of our procedures are carried out. At the beginning of the school year, we provide training at the new staff orientation, and we also provide the building level leadership with resources to turnkey to their buildings. Additionally, I've met with the building principals to review policies and procedures, again, to ensure that consistency is happening across all 6 schools. So this slide shows our trainings and programs. Just to clarify, a training refers to instruction and/or practice activities that are specifically designed to prepare staff to implement a program or strategy. A program is defined as a series of organized events, plans, or systems designed to move towards a specific goal. Oftentimes those goals is building positive school climate culture, promoting positive behaviors, positive peer-to-peer interactions. The district provides a range of appropriate programs and training opportunities at all levels. Specifically at the high school and middle school, these programs may include the Wellness Fair, our peer-to-peer mentoring program, which has been really successful. We've had regular class meetings, and in the middle school, they have advisory lessons regularly. Students also receive HIB-focused classroom presentations and participate in assemblies that reinforce expectations around behavior, respect, and reporting concerns. At the elementary schools, our programming includes Ruler Family Night, Week of Respect. We have lots of community service projects and school-wide social emotional learning initiatives, such as the community teams, lessons, and assemblies. Additionally, at the elementary schools, students also participate in character education lessons, kindness week, conflict resolution instruction, and a variety of school-wide assemblies. All these efforts reflect an ongoing year-over-year commitment to provide structured, developmentally appropriate programs that support a positive school culture and reinforce our anti-bullying expectations in alignment with state guidance. At every building, there is a school climate and safety team. This is a requirement of the Anti-Bullying Rights Act. The purpose of this team is to promote and sustain a positive school climate through ongoing systematic practices and to regularly review and strengthen school climate initiatives and related policies. Each team includes key stakeholders such as the principal. At the middle school and high school, it also includes the assistant principal. They have teacher representatives, the anti-bullying specialist, and a parent member. This structure ensures shared responsibility, transparency, and consistency in monitoring school climate and supporting safe, respectful learning environments across the district. So some of the responsibilities of the school climate and safety team is that they are responsible for developing, fostering, and maintaining a positive school culture and climate through ongoing practices, including addressing climate concerns such as harassment, imitation, or bullying. Each team is required to meet at least twice during the school year During these meetings, the teams will review HIB complaints that have been reported to the principal and work to identify and address any patterns or trends within the school. Parents are a part of this and valued members, although they do not participate in the discussions or activities that could compromise student confidentiality. Okay, so here is our actual data from September 1 to December 31st, 2025. This is a summary of school incident data by school. It's important to note that the incident total only reflects violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, and HIB confirmed. These are required for state reporting. What is noteworthy is that we have no reported incidents involving vandalism, substance, weapons, or confirmed HIB at any school. The category that says other incidences leading to removal, these reflect incidents that require removal but do not fall into the state reportable categories. Examples of these might be disrespect towards staff or students, leaving school grounds without permission, that's specifically a high school related one. At the middle school, that might include misuse of school equipment and violations of acceptable use policy. The HIB alleged column reflects reports that were investigated but not confirmed as HIB. Many of these allegations included off-campus or cyber digital activity. While not all reports meet the legal definition of HIB, each was taken very seriously and investigated in accordance with district procedures and state requirements. In response to some of these trends, we see preventative measures being implemented at the middle school in particular. We are in the winter months where students are indoors, so we've increased supervision in the gym during indoor lunch, and we have designated indoor lunch as electronic free. So these steps reflect a proactive approach by the building administration focused on supervision, prevention, and maintaining a positive school climate. This slide represents the trends from the last 4 years. This is the incident totals. So remember that includes violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, and HIB confirmed. The high school, we have significantly seen a steady decrease in these over the time. In middle school, we see one additional incident this year as compared to this time last year. Again, we're only comparing reporting period 1 over the years. And some of our building level administration, in response to some of this data, again, the increased supervision in certain areas of building. In advisory period, they're specifically strengthening targeted lessons, so they're constantly revising those advisory lessons. Each month, the advisory team leaders, our team leaders get together with the building principal and look at those lessons and really target them in response to any sort of trends that they're seeing. We also expanded program, including restorative practices. We had a training on restorative practices early this school year, and we have piloted some community circles in the classrooms in the middle school, which has been a large success. Overall, the data is reviewed regularly and used to guide adjustments in supervision, instruction, and program to proactively support a safe and positive learning environment. The last slide is the trends in other incidences leading to removal. So in the middle school, this has remained predominantly the same. And I would say, looking at the data, the most common examples of these incidences are misuse of school equipment or violations of the acceptable use policy. So those are the typical data that falls into the other incidents leading into removal. The high school, the most common examples under other incidences leading to removal are leaving school without permission, disrespect towards staff or students, or use of threatening language. Those would all fall under other incidences leading to removal. So building level administration reviews this information regularly to guide lunch supervision, assemblies, class meetings, advisory lessons, and other proactive measures to support a positive school climate and prevent escalation of these behaviors. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Del Fortino.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or feedback? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so typically in February, March, we do a mid-year update of our district goals, which I will go through fairly quickly. So just to recap, we had 9 goals, 3 for kind of each area: elementary, secondary, and then finance and operations. And I'll go through each of the goals and kind of update you on where we are in those achieving those goals. So the first goal for elementary is about using Ruler as one of our major practices for social emotional learning, using the revised curriculum materials, the classroom charter, community circle, mood meter, et cetera, et cetera. And this is the one that we are marking as complete. The guidance counselors have presented at Ruler at new teacher orientation to onboard new staff. Principals created master schedules that include community circle and Ruler time every day. We're very much making it a part of our daily interaction. Principals joined a community circle meetings to welcome students back, so they've been part of this as well. Teachers and students co-created class charters in the classrooms in September. Counselors have created new lessons over the summer. Are going to be rolling out this spring, and each school has hosted a family Ruler night in the fall, and will host another one again this spring. So I think definitely we're very much on track with goal number 1. With goal number 2 for elementary was about coaching and about job-embedded professional learning. So coaching cycles, PLCs, planning sessions, grade level meetings, demo lessons, et cetera, with progress tracked through the coaching logs, agendas, meeting notes, et cetera. So again, we're marking this as complete. The intervention coaches and the building principals have facilitated PLCs in each of the buildings. Some of the topics of these PLCs: professional learning community, in case you're not up on the jive. Sorry, I try and avoid acronyms as much as I can, but you know how it goes. Building thinking classrooms, shifting the balance, not your granny's grammar, small groups, big results, reading, structures and fluency, student engagement, and listening. So these are some of the PLCs that have been offered in the elementary level so far. We have ongoing grade level meetings with principals and intervention coaches to refine instruction and respond to student needs. The elementary supervisor and the coaches organized and led district-wide grade 4 meetings to align curriculum, assessments, and instructional practices. The coaches conduct regular INRS follow-up meetings regarding student interventions. And the Sunday, that's our our word study program for phonics and such at the elementary level. The Sunday professional development refresher was delivered by elementary supervisor to K-3 staff, and then we had a Sunday trainer in here to work with our 4th and 5th grade teachers because it was new to them this year. Continued for goal number 2, just give you more information. The intervention coaches have conducted targeted planning sessions for new teachers to build instructional foundations. We always have new teachers, and we're really targeting to make sure that they're right on board with everybody else. The coaching cycles and demonstration lessons have centered on high-impact strategies and interventions, including follow-up support connected to prior professional learning. We have peer-to-peer observations organized as collaboration between coaches, principals, and the supervisor within and across schools, enabling teachers to learn from colleagues and bring effective practices back to the classroom. And the elementary supervisor is delivering PD at all faculty meetings about understanding the needs of gifted learners, because that's one of our targets there. So when we say complete, 100% of our teachers have engaged in at least one type of meaningful job-embedded professional learning, and we have a lot of examples of the things they're participating in. Goal number 3 for elementary, 100% of classroom teachers will utilize formative data collection tools to create weekly flexible grouping during the WIN period. So this is that flexible intervention period that we've built into the week for all students. So again, 100% of our teachers have done this. Our coaches and teaching staff have participated in professional learning demonstration lessons about utilizing assessment data to create flexible grouping. The principals, coaches, and elementary supervisor facilitated conversations during grade level meetings related to analyzing benchmark data to inform instruction. PD provided by principals, coaches, and elementary supervisor at the new teacher orientation on MTSS, that's multi-tiered system of supports and interventions. Principals, coaches, and elementary supervisor visit the classrooms during the WIN period to determine appropriate next steps and necessary support. And the coaches provide small group and/or individual coaching sessions to support WIN planning. Moving on to secondary. The first goal is that by September of '26, so this coming fall, develop and implement a standardized INRS protocol across the middle and high schools, including referral process timelines, pilot documentation for template tracking, and training for building level teams. Again, they did this work and are marking this as complete. There is a clearly defined middle and high school INRS teams have been created by including administrators, child study team members, wellness counselors, school counselors, classroom teachers, and those teams meet twice per month. The referral forms have been revised and posted on the Schoology pages for easy access so that we know we're all using the same form now. All staff members have received training on the form changes and the process for submitting. The data collection template and tracking system have been created and are in use. 6 to 8 week timelines for data collection and review have been established, and the mid-year reports identifying trends for each school have been submitted to me, the acting superintendent, for review. The second goal for secondary we're marking as in progress. It says by June of '26, 100% of core subject teachers will administer one department-wide common benchmark assessment per marking period to track student growth against curricular standards. So here's where we are in progress. Supervisors have collected and reviewed all benchmarks for marking periods 1 and 2. Teachers have administered those benchmarks in all core subjects in marking periods 1 and 2. The supervisors are now collecting and reviewing benchmarks 3 and 4, which will then be administered during marking period 3 and 4. Thus, it's still in progress. Supervisors have led data review with teams of teachers for benchmarks 1 and 2 at the department meetings, common planning time, data review meetings, and PLCs, again, professional learning community. Teachers are utilizing the data to inform instruction and have, when necessary, revised course assessments accordingly in concert with supervisors. Goal number 3 for secondary is about there are 2 parts to it, so I have 2 slides here. The first part is 100% of teachers will implement a targeted, standards-aligned Tier 2 support program for grades 6 through 8 in mathematics, and that's going well. I've talked with, yes, she's giving me 2 thumbs up right now. Ms. Della Fortuna is coordinating that. So this is the middle school math lab that we are running to support the students in math. So all middle school mathematics teachers provide Tier 2 small group instruction twice per rotation, with ongoing data tracking of student progress targeted to students' individual needs to support achievement and grade level standards. The student data and eligibility criteria are reviewed quarterly by the mathematics supervisor and teachers to monitor progress, determine appropriate support. And based on these reviews, students enter and exit Tier 2 support as needed, with the mathematics supervisor communicating decisions and next steps to families. So she's very much coordinating.
Can I ask a question about how that
Sure.
is run? Only because I know she's over there. So
I better get it right.
is it, how does that work? Because I was excited to see that on, like started up this year. And like, so what is the math lab doing? Like, do the kids?
Luckily, we have the math supervisor here
Yeah.
still, and so
I know.
she's going to answer that question
Okay,
for you.
all right. I know.
I'm glad you stuck around.
Since you're here, otherwise I would have just emailed, but thank you.
It's going really well. So all 6 of my middle school math teachers are running math lab twice a rotation, which is a half a lunch. So it's working out really well with indoor lunch. Everyone's happy to go to math lab. And so, so we review the eligibility criteria, which is their performance, their current level of performance in the course, their previous NJSLA scores, and teacher recommendation. The teacher recommendation would be that maybe this child needs some basic skills remediation or benefits from small group instruction. So our sizes in math lab run to about like 5 to 10 kids, depending on the teacher. We try to keep it on the smaller side to ensure that, every student is getting what they need. And we track the data, so we track what skill is being taught in that math lab, whether the student is developing or proficient or mastered. And then we will track whether or not what the next steps would be for that teacher. So I have access to all the data, and I'm communicating with parents regularly. They're probably sick of getting emails from me. And so it's going quite well. In the small groups, I'm getting tons of positive feedback from the parents. And so each quarter we reevaluate using that checklist to decide if a student should exit or continue into the math lab into the next quarter.
Thank you. I can say that just, subjectively, I haven't really received many, or if any, emails at all from middle school parents with math. And that is probably the first time that I can say that for years now. So I'll just take that as like another positive feedback that I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Del Fortuna. The second half of goal number 3 is about the 6th grade language arts, English language arts curriculum, that we wanted to enhance that to improve student learning outcomes, et cetera. So this is also in progress. Yep. The 6th grade implementation of MEMBEAN, which is an online program, it's a personalized vocabulary instruction, is something we're using now across all reading classes. The supervisor of English and the teachers have reviewed the data from the MEMBEAN in conjunction with benchmark data review. And then the supervisors, plural, several of them, have planned and facilitated the first 2 meetings of the interdisciplinary literacy PLC. So one of the, educators know this forever, all of literacy doesn't happen in the literacy block, right? It is a thing that should be baked into, especially social studies, but also science, and like kids should be reading and writing everywhere. So we involve everybody in this. So there's an interdisciplinary literacy PLC, including teachers from language arts, social studies, and special education. The first meeting, they focused on aligning language expectations, classroom best practices with professional learning provided by the supervisors. The second meeting, they were talking about building core competencies and a toolkit for teachers across departments to ensure horizontal alignment as coordinated by supervisors. If I'm giving you writing feedback in my language arts class, it'd be nice if he was giving you similar feedback in the social studies class about your writing, for example. So similar rubrics in language and all of those things are what we're coordinating. That's what we mean by horizontal. And the third meeting was about aligning the upcoming benchmarks to the NJSLA-A, that's adaptive, in style and focus with expertise provided by supervisors in unpacking those standards, best practices on assessment construction. The fourth meeting will focus on unpacking that assessment data. So what do we do with the results of what we have there? So this is an ongoing, in progress goal as well. And now we move on to finance and operations, and I will let Mr. Kanellis take over for a few.
Thank you, Mr. Van Ness. So goal number 1 was to reach out and get our state health plan claims rates from the state and work with our benefits advisors to determine the feasibility of changing plans based on the district's claims rate. As you all have heard from prior discussions about the budget, we have done that. We have submitted that report to our benefits consultants, and there's not a hope for us to get out currently based on a claims rate of 131%. Our second goal was to engage PSA, who is our architect of record, to provide a proposal for district-wide building assessments, and then upon receipt of the proposal, to evaluate the proposal and determine which would move forward. Within 3 months, we'll complete the assessment and provide a report prioritizing the project. So this is in progress. We have engaged PSA. PSA has done at least 3 walkthroughs of our facilities, the last one being this past Friday that included PSA, an engineer, our buildings and grounds director, our facilities manager, and myself, where we reviewed every building in the district and created almost, here's everything that's wrong and here's everything that we would also like. So we hope to get something back from them within the next 3 to 4 weeks. They have to come back. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get up on top of roofs. So they'll come back and go on the roofs and give us an assessment of roofs as well as building facades and things of that nature that were just not doable on Friday. And last but not least, we have our continued commitment to reducing the district's reliance on excess surplus to balance our budgets. We had set a goal of $100,000 for the 26-27 budget. That reduction has been successfully implemented in the proposed budget that has been circulated amongst the board, and we look forward to continuing that $100,000 reduction for the next couple of years until we can get this number to a controllable and a comfortable level.
Thank you. That concludes our report about district goals. This is just a mid-year kind of snapshot of where we are now. You can see there's still some things to work on and a lot that has really been done.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are there any comments, questions, feedback, anything? All right, it's nice to see that we're on track. Thank you. So at this time, I would like to open up the first set of public comments for action items only. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Just for action items. Okay, yep.
Okay, thank you for your service. Sanjeev Wari, 131 Fairmount Avenue, Glen Rock, of course. I have a couple of questions. I saw the report here, right? Is that the year-end report goal that we achieved, or this is a mid-year review of the goals? Sorry?
Sure.
It's a mid-year, okay. And the way you guys see the complete, I think a couple of months ago, last year, someone, Dr. Robinson, I think you gave the report of the data where the school is progressing, the scores and testing. You think this report reflect the progress that you guys shared?
I'll be able to address your questions after.
Okay, but that's my questions. Okay,
yeah,
good.
I can
So-
reflect on that.
Good. So I just want to make sure there's a correlation between that. Another one is, I have a question about community school. Can I ask that? Because that's not part of the agenda, so I can't. Okay, good. The budget is part of the agenda, right?
It is part of the agenda, which, I mean, I'll include this knowledge, but, so we actually are changing our budget, our agenda to reflect action items only. So it would be
Okay.
something that we're acting on. So the budget isn't something that we're voting on today. So it's not technically an
Okay.
action item, but
That's
you're
fine.
already here, so
No
go for
problem.
it.
So
I'm not even, don't worry.
I like to see you guys more often, but that's fine. I also heard about the registration for the kindergarten. What is that number? I forgot.
147, which
100
is on track with what we are.
147. I think you maybe answered that later. Do you know how many sections we are planning to have for the kindergarten, and how is that compared to the previous 2 years? How many sections this enrollment is high or low?
I
Uh, And related to that one is, I was talking to some people in community, and I heard that we may not be following our class size policies. I think I'm hearing the class size in elementary schools are close to 18, 19 students, and the class size policy says 22 to 26, right? And if, depending upon the composition of the class, the superintendent's supposed to present hey, the reason we are going to have that lower number of the class size because of the composition of the student population. I went through some of the meetings. I didn't hear any recommendation from the superintendent, not the current one, that, hey, we're going to have 18 students instead of 22 or 23 students. Who made that decision? Because it has a direct implication to the budget, to the finance, and I understand some people, say, hey, I want to have a, smaller class size. Makes sense. But then who decided that's going to be 18 or 19 kids? Then why not go to 15 or 14 kids, right? Because I believe that spending more money on the class size does not, I don't think it's relate to the outcome of that, because the smaller class size that you may not have the good, like, if you want to have a group activities and so on, you may not have right groups, right? So you may be having a smaller group, 3 kids instead of 4 or 5 kids. So interaction will also have an impact. I want you guys to think about that, because that will have an implication on every time you reduce the class size, you have to hire a teacher, the pension, the health benefits. If we have the policy, like previous board members like me, work with other one, we put the policy forward. What is the reason that we are not following that policy? And I think that should be looked into without any emotional attached to it. Hey, I want 18 kids or 19 kids. Because when the population moved to the middle school, you cannot afford 18 or 19 kids in the class. You cannot afford the same class size in the high school. On top of that, CVS apartments, they will be opening up in a year or so. You will, I would say, even if you got 20 or 30 kids, and then another building will be coming up next down the road for another 60 apartments, you have no way to manage that influx of the student and the finance implication that crowd will bring. So I think we need to make sure that the policies that we have, we follow. If we don't follow, exceptions should be noted, approved by the Board of Ed, not by the superintendent, because that's why people elect us, to do the right job. You have
Thank you.
Christine here with the good master's degree in finance. I see ex-superintendent. I see Tang here, Mr. Tang, in the IT. So if you guys can look into it, I think that will help the community. Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Thank you. All right. If there are any other members of the public who would like to speak about action items, please state your name and address. All right. Okay. So I'll close public comments at 8:07 p.m. So to address some of the comments, only because I happen to kind of know. So with kindergarten registration, we're on target. I would say there's these numbers are consistent with the way that it has trended over the past several years, and only when it goes over, I don't even remember the exact number, like it was something like 180 or something like that, then you open up an additional section. And so right now, we aren't on target to be at an expected growth that's higher than anything that's usual and expected. Everything that we've encountered has been consistent with the demographer's report that we received last school year. And with that demographer's report, which we do, I think we did one, it's like every 5 years or 3 to 5 years, somewhere in there, which, I'll share that with you. They knew that we were also having the apartments coming at CVS, and also looking at the reports that are all in the area. So they took all of that into account in terms of determining what the expected growth is. I would really encourage you to watch it and watch it in detail, because I certainly can't speak to it better than the gentleman who did. But the expected growth for children, it's not actually what we would think. It's not going in the same direction. What they're finding also is that many of the youth that's coming back are actually the youth that have graduated from college and that are coming back to live at home. So the growth is just not in the same way. Like, people are having less children. It's different than what we've traditionally expected going forward. But it was really detailed, so I'd highly recommend it. You asked a question about class sizes and things like that. So there's certain things that I won't be able to answer or provide insight on, but I think generally speaking, with class sizes and the determination for class sizes is also dependent sometimes on our goals. There is a correlation between class sizes and student achievement, like overall, not just like our thought process, but just like overall, like smaller private schools have, many or fewer children sitting in the seats compared to the amount of teachers that are teaching. However, when we do just the same assessment that we talked about at the beginning here, that Mr. Van Ness brought up when we do this profile of a child and the strategic plan, that's an area for community input. If there's something that, you know, the community is asking for us to shift and to reconsider and to change, you know, that's going to be the area where we're going to put in, you know, that input to be able to shape what we want our Glen Rock, you know, graduate to look like, and to make sure that everything that we do that's, you know, rolls up and aligns with that vision. And if a change in class size or a change in expectation or a change in staffing or a change in resource allocation is what we're going to need in order to present that Glen Rock child with the education that we want, that's how I think that we're going to do it and make the decision for, you know, like things like class sizes and all of that to go. The other part with class sizes that I can also say have an impact, you know, in my email inbox is when sometimes people also move in, or, you know, they moved in and they want to have, you know, I live by Central and I want to make sure that my kid goes to Central, but, you know, Coleman is the one that has the space like that. Those are things that are also impacted, because a lot of people want to move in and specifically just go to the school that's close to them, and the class sizes have to also be balanced in that way to be able to allow for that flexibility. So that's kind of like those two competing goals, like the flexibility for kids to be able to go to the place where their, you know, older sibling is, or for people to move in and to be able to attend the school that's like right in their neighborhood versus, you know, all of those, they're sometimes at odds, but definitely, you know, under consideration. So I think that answered everything that I can, you know, speak to. I don't know if anybody else has something that they want to say to that. No? All right. So can I get a motion to approve resolutions G1 through G7? Liz Calvez, seconded by Ed Hayward. I already know that on G2, Boaz, would you like to recommend a motion for an amendment?
Yeah, so either we, so basically in P1220, we're missing the most important sentence, which allows the board to give criteria for selecting a superintendent. In the draft, there are two options, and we didn't select anyone in the final version, which I think it's omission by mistake. So either we add that sentence or we push it back to the next meeting and with a new version.
So I would say just make the motion to add the missing sentence. If you
Okay.
have the exact,
So
I mean, I know it's in
yeah.
our,
Yeah, I can.
But it's
With
just
the motion, let me just pull the
for
sentence.
proper procedure, so we'll give you a second.
Yeah, so motion to add the sentence to P1220 that says, select the first option, the candidate shall meet criteria established by the board. And again, without it, we cannot put any criteria to select the superintendent. So, and since we do want to have a criteria to select the superintendent, we should select that sentence. We should add that option.
So I agree. Well, do you have a second for your motion? All right, Christine, all right. And now we can have a discussion. So with P1220, I would say that even if we didn't have that sentence, this is like the supreme function of our job as a board is to select the criteria that we need for our school. So there's statutes and things like that that do provide for that. I did see, when I went over and you pointed it out to the Strauss-Esme, that sentence is in there, like per the recommendation, and we didn't select the other items. So really, the way that I understand it is really this sentence just further defines what our job is. It doesn't really change the spirit of our policy, you know, it just further defines it. So, you know, I'm in support of adding this sentence. Does everybody understand what the ask is?
Is the full policy in appendices? In the backup?
So it
I was looking in the policy folder.
If you go to the appendix in the previous board meeting, you'll see that sentence. It's not in the current agenda because that sentence was not included. So you have to go to the previous meeting, look at the appendix, and it specifically says that you either choose the first sentence or choose one of the following.
I see, okay, yeah, Appendix E has our attachment of policies, and then we can scroll through in order.
So P 1220.
Page 5,
Yeah. Perfect.
All right, so we'll just take a moment for everyone to look. All right. All right, Mr. Canellis, if you're able to take roll on the amendment?
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Pralanis,
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Tang,
Yes.
Ms. Calvez,
Yes.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
The amendment passes.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions with regards to G1 through G7? Yes,
So I'm just going to abstain on G1 because I wasn't in the previous meeting.
okay.
I just have a comment on G5. I'd just like to thank the Hartlett family for starting a scholarship for one of the students. It's very, very generous of them to help the kids out here in Glen Rock.
Yes, absolutely, thank you.
Yes, I'd like to add to Ms. Stevenson's comment because Ms. Hurlett was an active member in the community also on the ambulance corps. So I think that this is very notable, and I appreciate the family doing that for our students.
Thank you. Noted, absolutely. All right, if we could call roll, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes, except from G1, abstain.
Mr. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Pralanis,
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Tang,
Yes.
Ms. Calvez,
Yes.
and Dr. Robinson.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions B1 through B5? Liz Calvez, seconded by Christine Parlamas. Any comments or questions with regards to B1 through B5? All right. Oh, yes, Ms. Stevenson.
B4, you spoke about that the last meeting, right, with the copiers?
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yes.
okay, so there's a savings there for the district
Yes.
in that, right?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, if we
Oh,
could.
and one more,
Oh,
I'm sorry, one more comment. On B5, bringing the Special Olympics here to Glen Rock, I think is an absolutely wonderful event that we're going to have. My friend's son participates in the Special Olympics playing basketball and also track, and I've seen how much it has affected not only him, but his whole family. It's just a great bonding experience for all the families and for the kids. So I'm so happy to see that happening here in Glen Rock.
Excellent.
And we are going to look into it, but there may well be volunteer opportunities for our students to help out on that day too. So once this is approved, we'll reach out to see if that, for again, that same kind of just the experience is a really wonderful thing for
It's
everybody.
even better. No, it's just, it's tremendous. Like, he won a gold medal, and it was like, oh, I know a gold medal winner now.
Excellent. If we can call roll, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Corey,
Yes.
Mr. Hayward,
Yes.
Ms. Pralanis,
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Tang,
Yes.
Ms. Calvez,
Yes.
Dr. Robinson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Motion to approve P1 through P13. Dr. Pucci Bender. Mr. Hayward, seconds. All right. questions, comments, P1 through P13? Yes.
P1, Mr. Kavanaugh, been a longtime member of our community schools.
25 years.
And I'd just like to congratulate him and wish him well on his next chapter.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Prolamis?
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender?
Yes?
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
Ms. Calvez?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. I have a HIB resolution, a motion to affirm the decision made in GRHAM HIB 301656 as reported by the Chief School Administrator during the February 9th, 2026, and GRCOL HIB 299478 as reported by the Chief School Administrator during the December 15th closed work session meeting. Yes.
Just one comment. The one from December, families are allowed 60 days before the proceedings, so we gave them that 60 days, so that 60 days is over, so we're approving it now. It would be appropriate for those of you who were not on the board on December 15th to abstain on this one, because you were not part of that discussion.
I just need a second. Mr. Hayward, okay, and then if we can call roll, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Abstain, I was not in
Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Prolamis?
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender?
I abstain on the one noted, but yes, yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Abstain on December. I was not here.
Ms. Calvez?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. And we have our vandalism, suspension, and HIB reports. All right. And then, just because this is a, truncated meeting or a joint meeting, we're going to go to our committee of the whole agenda. To begin, we're going to start with discussions about policy and a review and first read of the policies in Appendix F.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, as you know, back in September, we asked the Strauss Esmain Associates group to do a policy audit of our policies as well. We got that back on, I think, September 29th or 25th, I'm sorry. They sent it on the 25th, and we had a board meeting on September 29th where we approved a whole bunch of policies. So I gave you a document that listed all of those that were approved that same week or whatever. There were a few others that just needed some simple fixes, like we didn't have the date on there. There were several that they marked as needing an update because we did it as soon as their draft came out, but their date was later than that, so they just flagged it, but it's the correct policy. And then there were two that are actually mandated policies that we're missing, and those are these two in front of you now, which are the varsity letters for interscholastic activities and the school organization policy, both very short and pretty straightforward policies, but they are here for your first read.
All right, excellent. All right. So I guess let's just, we can go through each one, 2431.8. 2431.8 is page. Hold on, I'm just trying to find it.
It's in appendix F.
If anyone's there already, can you give me the page number?
Appendix F, it's not a
Oh,
very
it's
large,
not a.
it's only a couple
Page is.
pages long.
Let's see. What page number is that? Let's see. budget. Oh, hold on. I just need to get to the page.
2431.8.
Okay.
Mr. Evans, Phil says it's too long.
Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, y'all are great. All right, any questions or concerns about policy 2431.8? Hold on, I'm just trying to get back to my page.
Dr. Robinson? So looking at this, it looks, is this a new policy? Or
Yes.
just, okay.
Yeah, so, well, I guess I'll combine it with the old business. So when we were looking at it with a prior board goal, we said we wanted to do the policy check. We did an NJSBA check. We also used Strauss Esme to manage, a lot of our policies, and their legal team is robust. So we also asked them to do a policy check. Our policy numbers don't match the NJSBA numbers. When Strauss Esme did the policy check for ours, they noted that we didn't have these two policies. And there's some other things that we'll talk about as part of old business afterwards. But these policies are mandatory policies that we should just have. And they're, standard policies to have in there. So that's what's attached in Appendix F. And that's it. That's it. So first read. All right, yes.
So really all this policy is saying is that if any student who participates in a school-sponsored interscholastic extracurricular activity that involves competitions, they can then earn a varsity letter, whether it's sports or, I would imagine robotics would then go in, because it is a competition, they do competitions.
But I don't know if it's how did you determine a
It
varsity?
says may be eligible.
Maybe, okay. So
May
then
be
would we
eligible.
have to then come up with a regulation to go with this? Like who would be eligible? Is that correct? Like
Yes.
who,
We could write that. I mean, we have what we give the varsity letters actually now. We could certainly put that into a regulation, yes.
okay.
So what does may be eligible really means?
So,
So that means may
right,
not be eligible too, right?
yeah, you're right to pick up on the word. If it says shall, that means they all get a letter. If it says will, they all get a letter. If it says may, means we can decide which are our varsity letters, sports or activities.
Okay, thanks.
Just, that's common with state and pretty, like, interstate national law. The may gives you the opportunity to choose or not to choose.
It actually says in the last sentence that you don't have to.
Yeah, that was what I noted on the bottom, is that it kind of carves out what's not the scope of this policy at the bottom here, which is always an interesting read, to see what's specifically not included. So it makes me wonder where it is, but it's referencing state law or this policy to not mandate that we have athletic programs, but that should we do, and that,
All right.
thank you, yes, interscholastic extracurricular activity, it's great descriptor.
Do we have team managers as well? Or not?
Team managers? Oh,
Yeah.
as in a member of the team, but not a player.
Yeah, but not, like, for example, they have.
They don't physically play.
Right, they don't play,
manage.
but they manage the team. Do we have those roles?
I don't know the answer to that question. I can look into it.
I can say from personal experience with one of my children, they kept the stats for the football team, and they, I believe he did get a letter for that. But I know in the past, the football team has used kids that didn't play football to do all the stats for everybody. And I think lacrosse might do it also.
Yeah. All right. So policy 8130 for school organization, also in appendix F, as you can see. I'll look through it. I know that's pretty simple, but any questions or comments on 8130?
So this just affirms the grades per the schools themselves. We have a separate Glen Rock Middle School and separate Glen Rock High School here,
Well, if they're in a combined building.
as they are,
correct?
yes.
Mhm.
I don't mean physically, but yes. Even though they're co-administered, is my point.
All right, so we're done with our first read. If anything comes to mind, we'll just discuss it or send an email before our next meeting. With old business, just to reiterate, so the NJSBA policy check, I even asked Melissa Del Rosso about it, and I said, you know, how do we reconcile with the numbers, the policy numbers that you're saying don't match the ones that we have with, you know, our policy book as well as Strauss-Esme, and things don't exactly match up? Does that mean that we like fail a policy check? And she said, no, the requirement is just that you get a policy check, and we did get a policy check. So now we did that. We also have one from our policy holder, like with Strauss-Esme, and that brings us to their policy audit, which, do you want to walk us through?
So I included the action items there. I briefly talked about it already. I think the only thing that I'd highlight is the letter that I included, that they said we are in excellent shape, and I like the word excellent there. And in talking with the Strauss-Esme experts, representative, it said a lot of districts just don't pass these policies as they're done. And so while we're always fine tuning and making sure that we're caught up, and we missed a couple, we're really in good shape staying on top of what's coming out from Strauss all the time, and a lot of districts are not, according to her. So that's a little disheartening to hear. But I'm happy with the review. We looked through all of their recommendations and made those changes. With these two, we'll be right there with them. There's one policy that we just need to look into a little bit more about, the E-rate, because it says if we need to have that one, I can't remember the language they use, but we're looking into it because it's an old policy. I think it was written in 2012 or 2013 or something, so we're not sure that it's actually current, so we're double checking on that one. Otherwise, I think we're in good shape.
And so, Mr. Cohen, I remember you brought up something with the energy drinks and looking at the policies. So instead, I think we could, because we don't participate in the free or reduced lunch program based on our district needs here, you could work on figuring out where in our current policy book that language could exist based on our current policies. So it's just kind of like looking and determining, like, you know, making a recommendation to amend a specific policy where you think that could lie.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. And then policy 1067?
Policy 1067 is about, it relates to public comment and how we run our meetings. And specifically, was it last meeting we had, I think, Mark, our board attorney.
Yeah, he said that it doesn't, like
So he said that, as we said today, you know, on what action item are you speaking? He said there are some boards that ask the folks in the public to identify the agenda item number. So, you know, this is in regards to B3, or this is in regards to whatever, before their comment. And then the other piece of that policy is that
addresses.
Dr. Robinson always asks for state your name and address. That's actually not written in our policy to state their address. And so this is one of those things of maybe we should clean up the policy a little bit to align it to what we want it to be. So so I want to just bring that, because this is a cow and this is where we should be talking about these things. What are your thoughts about that policy? Do we want to adjust it? Do we just want to move on? Where's the board?
Dan?
Is it Robert's Rules of Order for that the public states their name and address? Do we know that?
I know one, it's our historical process.
Yes.
Two, boards, there are some boards that don't even allow members of the public that aren't in the community to speak at boards. Like, you don't, like, it could be a board policy that if you are not a resident of Glen Rock, that you are not allowed to make public comments. That could be, and for certain communities, that actually could be significant because there are people that come in to either agitate or to do, you know, like, to start something that, you know, is not really reflective of the community. So we can kind of do what we want.
Okay, I only ask, we've discussed policies before, and when policy excludes something, but it's obviously or not so obviously covered by state law somewhere else, that it really doesn't behoove us to complicate our policy for more robust reading, but we end up memorializing something that really isn't our authority to do because it's subject to state law. That's why I ask.
Mark is the one that initiated this conversation.
And Mark is not here for me to argue with him. So.
It's like, he brought it up that he thinks that we should consider it or just have that as part of our conversation, especially since we were talking about where we want to put like the public comments and how we realign that. That's how this came up.
That makes sense, yeah.
Dr. Robinson, may I,
Yes.
one more thing? I apologize. I put in there 1067, it's 0167. I had the 0 and the 1 flipped, so my apologies. It is policy 0167 that we're talking about.
Thank you. Mr. Glen.
So I don't think it's a bad idea to ask people to give their name and address, just so we know if they're from the community or not, just so we have the reference, but to ask them to state the specific paragraph that they're, or the specific section that they're speaking about. I think we don't have a lot of people coming. I would love to have a full room, but since we don't have it, and I encourage people to speak up and just not make their life harder and just let them speak. I think we will figure out by ourselves which section it reflects to, and so we don't need to ask everybody to say, you know, this is according to, or like this is in regards to section such and such, just to make everybody's life easier. So I'm in favor of adding the address, but not asking everybody to state the section that they're talking about.
I'm going to have to say yes, but no. I favor that the public has the right to come and make the comment, state their name, and then in that first comment time, it's quite easy to state, I'm referring to question is on G5, and this way, it's easy for those that are not with a computer in front of them and are listening, maybe driving, they'll know exactly which question to go back to. I think it just, you know, if they don't do it, I wouldn't be upset if they didn't say it, but I think that as a practice, if we can get them used to referencing which item number it is, I think it brings clarity. Just my thought.
Thank you.
I'm used to that practice, that's why it's easy for me.
I would support that practice too. The public has a limited opportunity, 3-minute window to be specific about what they want, and less of a courtesy, but more of a focus to the other people paying attention. What is it that you're talking about, so that people can follow up and know? It's just communication protocol.
And I would say, like, for, you know, like being the person that's the board president right now, I'm always navigating this. It's helpful for us to be able to focus it, to say, like, this is an action item. Which action item are you referring to, or this is on the agenda or not, or whatever. And then I'm not the type of person that's going to like cut people off and, you know, fully send people back to their seats. So I think not even just for me, but for future presidents, that, you know, like we give grace where possible. If there was like a real serious problem, then now you have it in your policy to kind of like help support, you know, rule.
I like the discussion. The action item, when you ask a member to quote the action item, the wording is like very insular here, and they might not be familiar with it, to Boaz's point, that, you know, you want to encourage it, but you can also balance it with framing it. So maybe there can be wording in how we structure it to call out better in our agenda what the action items are that they're allowed to, I don't know, you know, comment on.
No, because we just moved it from agenda items only to now like action item, like, or I don't know, it could be action,
I'm
you know,
saying
like point, agenda number, or like bullet number.
Just agenda item number.
Yeah. Yep. Go for it.
Well, I like the ideal of this idea. I do think this would become, quite frankly, a royal pain to have to remind everyone to go back and check your agenda item, to do this. We have so few public. It's not like we have to train 3 people who are here every month. It's going to be different people every month, every time. I don't think it'll go very well, quite frankly, so I'd be a fan. I certainly name and address. You know, we want to know the information, no anonymous reporting, as it were. But I just feel like this would, we're adding constraint to something we don't need to babysit. It's my thought.
But, okay.
I don't know if this fits in the policy, but maybe if it's unclear after their comment, we could try to clarify.
Which we do anyway already.
Which we do anyway, right?
We're already doing it.
Option to clarify.
Right, but a
I
lot
like
of people also do say the agenda item when they come up. Also, people
Sometimes
do
they do.
say the agenda item at times when they come up too. but-
Like, we're
Right.
trying to solve a problem we don't have.
Right.
I agree. I agree.
We're spending a lot of time talking about a problem we don't have, so.
Okay.
I think you write a policy to mimic what we're doing and continue on. Policies keep us safe.
Do we want, can we do a
And
straw
if
poll?
they choose to state it, that's why I said, you know, it's neither
Yeah, yeah.
here or there, but
They
I
can-
think that for
they
those
can
that
do it
are
right now. We can-
watching, if they hear the
Yeah.
policy, I'm sorry, if they hear the agenda item number, they'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
able to reference it in the agenda quickly to find it. For us, we have it in front of us, so it's easy to find what they're going to ask because we're right there. But for anyone else listening, it might be more difficult. But again, Ed, and Mr. Cohen, I feel that if they don't, it's not, you know, it's not a terrible issue that we have to stick with.
Okay, so I think we've
Right,
all
so
had
if
the.
we're not going
oh,
to stick
go
with it, then we shouldn't put it in our policy, because
Fairly unenforceable.
we should follow policy, so.
ahead. Yeah,
Right.
so,
We can ask anyway. We don't have to write a policy for it.
Yeah,
What
There you
agenda
go.
item are you referring to?
solved.
all right. So it seems like we have consensus on name and address. If we can have a straw poll for adding the agenda item to the policy. So for those that are in favor of adding the agenda item number, whatever, to the policy, please raise your hand.
Do you mean asking them to state that?
Yeah, yeah, and adding it to our, asking that add to our policy.
So we're adding it to our policy, but if they don't say it, we're not cutting off their mic.
That would be my practice would not be that, doing that, yeah, but, yeah.
I just want to be clear.
I'm not, but like, there could be a president that has like somebody with a hook, pulls them up, but it's not me. So straw poll for making that change. If you're in favor, raise your hand. Great. Moving on to, all right. Moving on, so we will get the language from Mark that says the name, address, unless we could just make that up, because I don't think we have to
We'll put the
really work.
language in. It'll probably be on the next cow, which will be
A month.
April cow for a first read for the approval at the second meeting in April.
Perfect, thank you. All right, governance, all right, so does everyone have internet access? I just forwarded a document about committees. So pretty much everyone that I've spoken to is generally in favor of moving the board to a committee structure. Doing some search over like what some of the other boards in the area came up with about, let me pull this up, hold on. Okay, thank you. Came up with 5 committees that generally focus all of the things that we do. Noting that even if we go through a strategic vision change or we go through the profile of a child and we determine that the board structure needs to be further refined in order to meet the needs of our goals, then we can do that. We can change the name of the committees. We can change, you know, I would just want us to like look at this from intention to be decisive. So Academic Excellence Committee would deal with all things academic excellence. You can look, you know, further into this document to kind of get a sense. Finance and Audit Committee, we have Facilities and Operations, Negotiations Committee, Governance, Policy and Compliance, or, and a thought I'm throwing out to you is that maybe it's Negotiations and Compliance, and then governance, policy, and legislative, because then the governance aspect is like, you know, what we're doing now. Policy is policy, and then legislative, that's also, you're going to be able to update the board on things that are legislation that's going on in the state and or locally that could affect our school district. So that's a great committee that's able to keep us aware of what's going on and maybe speak on those things. So those are the 5 committees. Personnel would be the whole board. That wouldn't be a separate committee. We would just do it as a whole board so that nobody, that information would directly come from administration to us together. Just before we go further into that, what are your thoughts? It would look like we would have one meeting a month, one whole meeting a month, instead of our 2 meetings a month that we have as a board together. We could have either a working session, maybe right before our meeting, and then we have committees, and then our committees would meet, and the committees could meet. At the beginning, I would assume that we're going to meet often because you want to establish, you know, the role of the committee. You want to get a sense for what the work is that you want to do, get a sense of how the committee is going to function. And then the rhythm could be different. Every committee does not necessarily meet at the same time. For instance, I think I was talking with you, James, and asking oh, how would the finance committee go? What would that look like? And there are times, if you're looking for a new budget, it's not like you're going to get a new budget in June and July. You know, you're going to wait till after you come back from, you know, school, and you're probably going to meet. I don't know. What did we say? November might be the first meeting or something like that. Essentially,
December probably.
December.
For strategy,
Yes.
January, working on actual budgets.
Yes, and then some of the other work that we would do would help to even inform the budget. So some of the other committees are going to be, you know, your academic excellence, which might have instruction and programming, and or, you know, with curriculum, it might have a facilities and operations that's going to turn around and inform, you know, budget or inform the other things. So those are going to this structure allows us. We would have 3 board members. Plus three board members, one of them being the chair. The board president would be able to attend any and all of them. We'd probably do them in a combination of Zoom or in person, depending on what the committee wants to do. Set that up, come together as a board and discuss and have the committee reports. The minutes for the meetings need to go out to the entire board from the committee chairs. That's also a way to protect against some of the problems that I had heard about in prior boards, you know, from when the committees were in function, you know, years ago, that sometimes the information wasn't really the complete information that was shared, and that there's a potential for either manipulation and things like that. If you're working in small groups, right? So just to protect the integrity, I would want the meeting minutes from each of the committees to be shared amongst everybody, so that you from the chair, so that you keep things in the most open and transparent as possible. What are your thoughts? I know this is a lot.
I'll be short to kick off. I think this is more work for more of the board compared to historically where we have the committee of a whole, where the entirety of the board work rests on the president and vice president's shoulders. So this is a great way to get more new board members paired with senior veteran board members and get people more engaged. Thinking back to my first and second year, just kind of 9th person in the totem pole, and you're waiting to find out what the board president VP did. I think this is a much better way to get people engaged into perhaps issues that they're passionate about or more competent in or just more available to throughout the pace of the year. So programmatically, really excited to see about this. I think you already addressed right now some of the concerns of what a committee can do if it's not transparent. Mm-hmm. This is a one-year seat, and you can fire that committee chair if it's not working at the serves at the pleasure of the president. So
Yeah.
this is something that
And that's
we can
going to be, I would say, like making sure, and not just for me, but like for all presidents in perpetuity, is making sure that, the committee chairs are the right committee chair for the right committee. Just making sure, like, I think that that's a way for us to all, in future help the process work smoothly. Some people are really great at certain things, and putting them in alignment is helpful. I would say that one of the things that made me more sure that I want to do this is that I've been trying to kind of push the board in terms of like divvying things up to get, more conversation, like to get us working across the aisle with each other and having these discussions. And it's been successful, I think. And ultimately, it's almost like we're functioning in committees. It almost feels that way. The more that it feels good is the more that we're getting closer, again, to like committee work. And so I think that defining it this way will be helpful. And a lot of the things that people are saying that they want to do, it would be helpful to work those things out in committee and then bring them to the board when you have like full data. And it doesn't mean that everything gets done right away. It's not like that. But it would just be much more smooth, I think. Yeah.
Well, we just got this, as you're talking, so we haven't digested it, and you're asking what we think, but just offhand, I heard Dan say, it's what we're interested in, but would the president assign the committees?
The president always assigns the committee, so that wouldn't change.
So I see that you recommend 3 years, no more than 3 years for a committee head, but wouldn't it be 1 year since the president would have the right to assign the committee head?
So, no, when I say 3 years, I mean, this is a board decision, right? So it's basically saying that we don't want the same person to fulfill a role more than 3 years in a row. That would be what we're saying. As a board president, if I'm board president this year and I say that, Angela's going to be, like on finance committee, and she's going to be the chair of finance committee. And then next year, somebody else is president, they say, you know what, we want Angela to do it again. And then the third year. After that, according to our policy, if this is what we, say we want to do, then that we would be saying like it needs to be somebody else to share the knowledge. And it's more about, and I think it's more about that, about sharing the knowledge amongst more boards, so you have like stability in a transition. If it's only one person, and it's been that way in the past, where it's one person that's like, for instance, like Rona was phenomenal at policy, but then Rona retires, and now, like we want to make sure that we have like some sort of like continuity amongst the board, and so that things are kind of like living, long. And in terms of this isn't the first time we had the discussion. We talked about going into committees in our last meeting, so I'm not sure if that one was where you weren't there. But going into committee, this is just that. Do we want to do it or not? The details of figuring out how the committee is going to be, structured is something that would be the next step for us to look at the individual committees and then make a decision. So, yeah, this isn't, over today, but this is the step that the board kind of told me that they wanted to go in. So that's how we ended up here. Yes.
I'm very much wholeheartedly in favor of committees, and I know that annually is the assignment given by the board president. The limitation, though, however, I feel that sometimes consistency is better, that if there is someone who excels in policy, I think that, the others that are in the committee that change over get to learn what it might be, and when someone retires from that, they can, pull up and take the role. I think that it would be very, very helpful if the acting superintendent turns around and folds the conversations into each committee with certain items that's easily done, right? A new program would not only fall under academic excellence committee, but it could also fall under finance because it costs money. So if it's coming from the same individual, our district leader, that helps to keep the knowledge evenly spread throughout the committees. Sometimes it works better than other times, and it lends itself, but I think that this is a great opportunity for us to, in small groups, have deep, rich conversations. You know, good things happen when we have smaller groups together, that we bounce ideas off of each other, and we come up with some really good plans. So I am very much so in favor, and I would look forward to doing that.
Did you have something?
I was just thinking, as you were talking about Rona and policy, right? She was the queen of policy and did it forever. In this structure, I guess she could do it for 3 years and then still be on the committee the fourth year.
Correct.
And then go back to
Yeah.
it if she wanted, but she'd be there to mentor the next person, et cetera, et cetera. So people could stay focused on their strengths. Just a
Yeah.
thought. I like the idea. Yeah, it's a good start.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, Boaz.
So I'm 100% in supportive of the committee structure. Just two things. One is, can you explain page number 4? What do you mean by meeting structure optimization in the months?
So that is just a sample. That is a sample to say like, okay, well, in September, we tend to have an academic and policy focus. In October, you know, or we are like potentially like gearing up for finance. November, you know, like it's just an idea, like, and this would have to also come from administration. Like I would need administration to say, okay, this is when, for instance, like CUSAC, if we're in a CUSAC year, it starts here and then it ends here. When this is the time of the year where we consistently review all of our facilities, or maybe we have,
Got
yeah.
it, but the committees will stay operating the whole year. This is not just the months that they're operating.
No,
This is like
no,
maybe okay, great.
Yeah, when we would break into the committees, the first thing that we're going to do is define what exactly we want to make sure that we cover in the committee. And as well as, developing a rhythm for meeting. There might be times where you are going to meet more often than other times. That's going to be based on, you know, the committee chair's discretion. And then there might be months where you don't have anything that you really need to discuss because you're waiting for something maybe, and you don't need to have a meeting. So you would never be able
Yeah,
to only
I-
meet once a month.
The,
Once a year.
Yeah,
So.
my next question is, so I know we just got it, and we need to look at if any committees are missing, but the negotiation committee, I would think that it's like just when we have negotiation, and that's like not every year, so I think there's an opportunity to put additional committee, I'm just looking at what in our agenda, like we have the community discussion, like maybe we should have like a community committee or something, but I think there's an opportunity to have additional committees.
Okay.
Or at least one or two.
And so I did ask about negotiations, and James, you actually gave me some good insight, that there are times where administration may be having like either an internal like labor dispute or something like that. So it's not just only going to be for you know, negotiating contracts, because like, for instance, if it's the GREA contract, we're still, you know, a couple years out from there, or the GRA contract we just did, you know, like last year. So it's going to be more, it would be more often than that, but yes, you're right. So go ahead. So I look forward to your feedback over this, and then when, James, what would be, if off the top of your head, how would we move towards implementing something like this theoretically?
We would identify the policy where we are organized as a committee of the whole. We then take that policy and rewrite the policy as you see fit, or as the policy committee sees fit, and then we would bring it forward for a first reading and a second reading, and we'd be off to the races.
All right. So right now, Boaz, you're policy chair, so I would ask if one, we could solicit feedback. You can CC myself and Mr. Cohen, and actually CC myself, Mr. Cohen, and Liz, And when you provide that feedback, we'll compile it, we'll take a look at the actual policy, and we will draft a new policy based on that feedback to present at our next meeting. So, sounds okay? All right. Oh, well, I mean, he's currently the chair of the policy committee, so, yeah, oh, so yeah, like, he actually is the chair of the policy committee. Yes. So, you know, so since you asked, Boaz, yes, please, could you, yeah. All right, so yay to, all good, no, you're right on time, that's all. So committee structure, check. All right, so now on to actionable item, which is the delegate assembly proposed resolution. Born out of some of the discussions, like we had some great discussions within the micro budget meetings. One of the things that came up, Mr. Cohen, you made a suggestion. Do you want to even give a preface for like what you said, and then I'll continue on?
Yeah, I think that there's power in quantity, and if every town in New Jersey has to negotiate by itself, your power against the software developers and the vendors that we have is limited versus multiple towns working together to negotiate a better deal. So I like you to speak about the suggestion, but I think it's a great idea, and you know, just looking for towns to work together to save costs for the taxpayers without losing anything, right? It's just rather than negotiating as a town of 10,000 people, negotiating as a state of 8 and 10 million people, and it's like it's very different, and you'll get a better price and a better terms. That's how it works.
Thank you. So there's a few things that come to mind. Just to kind of talk about the delegate assembly. The delegate assembly is something that occurs and it's statewide. It happens twice a year, and it's basically all of the school boards across the state send at least one member to the delegate assembly. Karen has volunteered for that position for a few years now, and had the opportunity to go down to, is it in Trenton, or is it? It's like
No, it's at Mercer County Community College.
And at the delegate assembly, you can introduce resolutions, and if they are adopted or voted on by the bodies, the body there, you're able to help to dictate which direction you want NJSBA to advocate for. So this is a way for us to really be involved in the process. If we're saying that there's pain points, which we are saying that there are pain points in our budget, there are things that we are, concerned about as a school district. There are things that we're concerned about as taxpayers, residents, parents, whatever it is. We should find ways within our elected position to be much more active and make sure that we are advocating for our constituents, essentially. And so since we've had like a lot of times people, share like good ideas or even complaints about our legislation or our legislators and things like that, this is a way for us to propose resolutions that could make a difference. So I liked what Boaz suggested, and it was mentioned that even California has something in place like this, actually. And so wrote a, resolution. So what you see in the agenda, I shared it with Karen over the weekend, and she looked at the format that NJSBA is actually requesting, and that's what you actually have printed out next to you. It's just basically truncated a bit to fit the format of the NJSBA resolution. And so if you're in agreement, I want to continue the conversation, but just to let you know what I'm looking at. If you are in agreement, this is also like an exercise for us, right? Like Karen would then be able to go down, read it, present it, have the NJSBA members vote on whether or not they want to support this or not. Sorry, go ahead.
So the first thing we would need to do is to approve this.
Yep.
By Thursday.
Yeah.
Is the cutoff date for the May meeting. After this is if it is approved, then Jamala, you need to sign it. And then we submit it for approval. It goes through a committee on the school boards before they present it to the entire body. So they will go through it. There's a lawyer that goes through it. Sometimes, when you get your packet, when you get there, some of the resolutions that were submitted were withdrawn, or they were changed, they were tabled for another time. So, those are all possibilities. If people want, I think it's a great idea, and I think that was one of the many benefits of those small meetings. This really still emphasizes local control, because that is a huge issue in New Jersey. So it's basically saying we can do Sunday, for example. If there's 10 districts using it, we can negotiate together, trying to get the price down. Really is what this is doing. It's not going to change the law. It's going to help focus school boards.
Yeah.
So, if we want it on the agenda for May, we'd have to approve this evening. If not, there's a meeting in November. So whatever that we come to, people want more time to look at it.
And there always are like political concerns, for instance, like if there's either legislation that's being considered to prevent like cooperative pricing in New Jersey, that could be going on right now, and we don't know. We don't know, or unions could decide that they feel like this offends them, and we don't know. But if we compartmentalize with what our job is and our responsibility is and just focus there, and then we'd see what happens. We'd see what happens. This is like, I just want us to focus heavily on our job and doing all that we can to advocate for our constituents.
I'm always happy to be openly critical of actions that have, statements that have no action, right? Local boards and councils can make proclamations that have no bearing or impact on their constituents or really fact in their basis. This is something that we can do. This is great. We spent a lot of time looking in, and I don't think as a board, I haven't seen the Glen Rock Board of Education look up towards the state and how to consolidate our other interest around things that we see as a identifiable action. So I'm fully in support of this. I think it's a new thing for us as a board, and if we make a little bit of a splash, that's fantastic. So
yeah, I think we could, as even part of a committee or like the governance and legislative committee, we could have like a running list of things that are consistently on, and every delegate assembly presents something, that addresses some of the issues that people are saying that they want to see either in education or school laws or healthcare benefits or like whatever it is that it relates to our budget, or like this is the place where we should be investing a lot of our attention. So thank you.
As when and if needed.
Hmm?
As when and if needed. Like hearing the two cycles, we have May and November. By November, you'll already be in the beginning of the throes of budget season. So sounds like now is the best time to act, followed shortly by tomorrow.
There are towns that do present every delegate assembly. There are towns that have people that are at
Every meeting.
every meeting. So if this is passed this evening, I would ask on May 16th that if other board members would like to join me at the meeting, I would appreciate the support. And I think it would also look, it would look good for the delegate assembly to see that we are all in this together.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll definitely try to come join you. I would love to hear why anybody has a reason not to support this. It feels like a no-brainer and a way to save money for any town in New Jersey. So
Yeah.
it feels like why nobody has done it until today. So yeah.
It'll be an interesting process to find out, because I can imagine already that there are very specific reasons why this could, not be supported at the state level, but.
You can come hear arguments against all kinds of things there. It's interesting, because there's people from all over the state, and it's just always interesting to me to hear other people's perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
So does
assuming
that
it
mean-
makes it out. Oh,
Does that
sorry.
mean all the district needs to agree for this to work? Otherwise, how would that work?
Now, it has to be the majority of the delegates that are there.
It has to be the majority,
Yeah.
right?
I'm trying to remember, I don't know that anything's ever been voted down. I have to go back and check my notes, but I don't think so. A few things have been very close, but most things most things pass. And it really is a thorough evaluation that they go through before it does come onto the board.
I mean, I'm just, like, I'm not against this or anything, but I don't think this is zero trade-off, right? There's gotta be some trade-off. Now we're concentrating this purchasing power in a few people, right, rather than more people, right?
Yeah.
There's some trade-off, right?
When you say trade-off, what do you mean?
Collectively bargaining with
Yeah.
tech companies.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you get stuck with, right? Sometimes you get stuck with a certain package
Yeah,
style or
there's
type
gotta
or
be
something.
some, right?
But-
Not zero. I'm not
yeah.
saying I'm against it, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
zero trade-off.
But the state's actually done this before. They did it with internet access. They've done it, you've got Middlesex Regional High School or Ed Service Commissions, or I guess they're, what are they, New Jersey Ed Service Commission now? North Jersey, New Jersey? This is sort of exactly what they do, and it looks like this one's trying to focus a little more on instructional materials, et cetera, et cetera. But mechanisms like this exist. What you're saying is actually right. Most schools just do their own thing anyway and try to find a contract to put it on. But if you put the actual purchase together, the hardest thing with the internet, I was involved with that with the state, was getting schools to line up their renewal dates, right? That in and of itself, with every item on there, could be a
Right,
thing.
so less,
But if we found someone to coordinate that
it's
from the
much harder
state, that would be
to
great.
coordinate, right?
But if this gets approved by the school board delegate assembly, it doesn't mean it becomes law. It doesn't go into, it just goes into their policy and the things that they advocate for.
Yeah.
So anything that gets passed at that assembly does not become law at that very moment. It just helps guide and focus the New Jersey School Boards Association on their lobbying efforts and their advocacy. So there's no loss in it, and if it already exists, they'll
Yeah.
just tell us it exists already. And I didn't see it there, but that
So
doesn't mean it's not there.
I was just reading an article in New Jersey Spotlight that happened, I would say, within the past 2 weeks, and it was talking about the Assembly Education Committee, and you had many members, either of the public, some from school boards, some from even our audit companies and things like that, that went down to the Education Committee meeting and decided to share what some of their pain points were for their budgets. It was heavily about budgets. And I'll share the article with everybody, but the chair, Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds-Jackson, said, thank you for, sharing your comments, but do you have any recommendations for solutions? And this is like another way for us to say, well, yes, actually, we have a recommendation for a solution, and this is one thing that you can address. Granted, we recognize that the biggest things that are driving our budgets in the schools are going to be, like salaries, benefits, transportation, special education. Those are the top 4 things that are driving our budget. And so this is small, but still helpful, and it's a good way for us to just get on an exercise of seeing what the process works and finding a way to put ourselves in it. And then going forward, we could do, whatever the board wants to do. It's just allowing us to innovate and think about things in a different way, and get out there and advocate for them. So, all right. And so, if we do we have a straw poll that we want to move this resolution? Oh, well, I was going to do a straw poll just to say, do you want to do the motion right now? Just do the motion? Okay. All right, so in terms of striking the one that's on the agenda, so I would like to, I'm going to make a motion to strike the G8 that is currently on the agenda, and introduce a new G8, which you have in front of you, and I will read it. Resolution submitted to the New Jersey School Boards Association Delegate Assembly by the Glen Rock Board of Education. Whereas New Jersey public school districts collectively educate approximately 1.37 million students across nearly 600 operating districts, each independently procuring instructional materials, digital curriculum, software platforms, and related educational services. And whereas instructional materials represent a substantial and recurring statewide expenditure borne largely by local property taxpayers, conservatively estimated between $350 million and $500 million annually. And whereas even modest cost reductions achieved through enhanced transparency and coordinated purchasing strategies could generate significant recurrent savings for New Jersey taxpayers while preserving classroom resources. And whereas the decentralized procurement structure of New Jersey's school system may limit collective bargaining leverage, reduce pricing transparency, and create potential disparities among districts of varying size and capacity. And whereas the association has historically supported cooperative purchasing, shared services, and other cost containment strategies that promote efficiency while maintaining local control. And whereas the association has consistently affirmed that local boards of education retain primary authority over curriculum, instructional materials, and educational programming decisions. And whereas responsible stewardship of public funds requires policies that promote transparency, equitable pricing, voluntary collaboration, and efficient use of taxpayer resources. And whereas the Delegate Assembly of the New Jersey School Boards Association is the policymaking body authorized to establish positions guiding the association's legislative advocacy efforts. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Glen Rock Board of Education respectfully requests that the Delegate Assembly of the New Jersey School Boards Association adopt the following policy position. The New Jersey School Boards Association believes that statewide procurement policies for instructional materials and digital educational resources should promote equitable pricing, transparency, cooperative purchasing opportunities, and responsible fiscal stewardship, while fully preserving local board authority over curriculum decisions and voluntary participation in any statewide purchasing agreements. Be it further resolved that in furtherance of this policy position, the associations shall advocate for legislative and administrative measures that, 1, promote pricing transparency and equitable treatment of New Jersey public school districts in the acquisition of instructional materials and digital educational products. 2, encourage mechanisms that strengthen statewide negotiating leverage, including voluntary cooperative purchasing structures or consortium-based contracting models administered through appropriate state-authorized entities. 3, support disclosure practices that improve clarity regarding bundled materials, digital access rights, professional development services, and related supports associated with instructional resource purchases. 4, direct appropriate state agencies to analyze and report aggregate instructional materials expenditures to improve fiscal transparency and inform policy development. 5, ensure that no such legislation or procurement reform shall mandate the adoption of specific instructional materials or vendors, transfer curriculum decision-making authority from local boards of education, require district participation in statewide contracts, restrict a district's ability to negotiate independently or secure pricing below any statewide agreement. Be it further resolved that this resolution was duly adopted by the Glen Rock Board of Education on March 2nd, 2026, and the board respectfully requests its placement on the agenda for consideration at the May 16th, 2026 Annual Delegate Assembly. Can I have a second? Mr. Cohen? And if you can call roll, please.
Mr. Cohen? Yes. Mr. Corey?
Yes.
Mr. Hayward?
Yes.
Ms. Perlanis?
Yes.
Dr. Pucci Bender?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Tang?
Yes.
Ms. Calves?
Yes.
Dr. Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Great. Nothing for INP, nothing for special services. Did you? On to fiscal management. The 26-27 budget update.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take that. We were talking about committees, very appreciative that we have a budget committee, which is a limited scope of what it'll be. Let me do the bottom line up front. The entire state, Glen Rock is not excluded, has a challenging budget year. And sorry, yeah. the entire state, Glen Rock not excluded, has a challenging budget year. What this committee is seeking to do is set a timeline so that all trustees have an opportunity along the different steps to our budget. The next milestone that we have is March 12th, where we'll know the final numbers of the New Jersey state aid. That is I would say, the final approach, glide slope towards what we have of May 5th of 2026, where we're going to approve our finalized budget. What I've been discussing with the other trustees in small meetings, we've had two to three trustees in at a time to really facilitate questions. Each of us have unique perspectives and questions, concerns, et cetera. Ideas that have come out of that, I think, have been helpful. And we're in a process where at least we now all understand the challenges and dynamics. And we're getting to a point where now the budget committee, which is myself and Christine, can come back together and take the voices of all 9 of us and really try to make sure that we're fine-tuning and honing down to a budget that we can understand and ideally accept. The next steps for us from that process are going to be, I don't want to say limited, but we've done a lot of the work ahead of time, and now the questions are going to allow us to make sure that we're making the right decisions. Where cannot we cut? Sorry, I have a really bad cold today, so this might come out a little lumpy. So on the 12th, Christine, instead of a board meeting, we're going to be having our committee meeting that time. Many of you have caught me through individual emails. There's a lot of volume of content. It's something I said earlier tonight. Every idea that we have, we're finding a budget that supports our objectives and ideals. That's the hard part for us, is we really need to know what the community is asking for, so that we make sure that this budget is funding those objectives. There's a lot of holes to look at, and to see what we could possibly work on. And some of those questions so far we found really aren't the opportunities we thought they were. Cutting services isn't something that anybody has asked for, but that's really what we're faced with a lot of these budget constraint questions. In the next committee meeting, I'm looking forward to really robust conversation, because now we have the voices of everybody, and those comments and questions do not need to stop just because we've had the meetings. My inbox is open. Please continue to send in your thoughts, questions, feedback, and additional follow-on ideas, suggestions. So if there's no questions now, I'm happy to have a dialogue. I know we're kind of running over time right now, but I'm happy to entertain a comment or a question from anybody on the board right now.
So before we even open it, I just want to say thank you so much for the work that you've done, that you've spent countless amount of hours. Thank you, James, first and foremost. You've spent an insane amount of hours, and Greg on the budget and making adjustments in a very difficult environment. So just wanted to say thank you, and that I recognize the efforts, and also thank you to all of the board members for participating in this process. I know it's a little bit different, but I think that we've had some really great conversations, and come to a better understanding of whatever our budgetary constraints are. So saying that now, go ahead, Karen.
I also just want to make a quick comment. I want to thank the Budget Committee for all their hard work. Those micro meetings, and James will agree with me, I found to be very productive. It was the first time that I was on the board that this has ever happened, and it really, sometimes when we're sitting here as a group and it's being presented, you're looking at it, but when you're in those smaller groups, I think you can dive into it a little bit deeper. Joe and I were the first ones to come in, so I don't know if anybody was what to expect, but we had a very open and honest dialogue. There were some disagreements. They were coming to an understanding. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want the best for our students, and we want the best for our families in town. So when we're all have the same end vision, our path there just may be a little bit different. But I just really want to thank you all, because I felt very comfortable there. I felt very comfortable saying what was on my mind, clearly. So again, thank you for your time, the time away from your families, to work on this budget for us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I feel like I said a lot of platitudes, but the long story short is that we have an incredible burden across every single school district in the state due to rising healthcare. We're also shackled with a 2% increase cap, which is an increase on taxes. But if you look at the last couple of years, there's been an incredible increase through inflation. So we're pressured to do the same amount with not a lot of economic relief in this budget. So my concerns, and I've heard the concerns from other people on the board, is that saving money now versus cutting money now, and what are we doing in this year's budget? What are we bringing up, and what are we kicking down the can? There is opportunity here to see. I shouldn't say opportunity. It's clear as you're going through the budget what really has been compressed over the years, what has not been funded, what's been cut, what's been held back, and where we've tried to grow services without really growing the budget. Every single year costs go up, and a 2% cap is the statutory limit that we're allowed to. But if you think about it, that's barely even keeping up with inflation. Everybody I spoke to this past month said their heating bill was twice what it was, and that's not even adjusted for the actual cost of the hydrocarbons that are coming into your house. So, welcome any other questions. Is it Corey D. at glenrocknj.net? Feel free to send your questions in.
Yeah.
So.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns that they want to bring up amongst the board right now? Okay. Yeah, sure.
Again, to James and Greg and Damali and Liz and of course Dan, that was a lot of work. I know that you undertook to get that all done. Very much appreciated, I'm sure, by every single one that sits here. I do have concerns. I have concerns because, like you say, our bills are going up at home. So what do we do at home to adjust is what we have to try to figure out here. What do we do to adjust? Unfortunately, I'm going to use a very old statement that I learned from a superintendent many years ago, that I feel like these are belt-tightening times because the money is tight. The money's tight. The opportunities are not what they were at one time. From what I understand, last year we went above the 2%, and we want to do it again this year. I don't know how clear that came across to the public. Greg, James, I know you worked really hard on making sure that all the information was included, but I think that if there's an opportunity to give a presentation style for us and everyone else, just to really give it justification and validation of what we want to do here, I think that would be really in the best interest. Because this is a very a difficult budget. It's hard. It's a hard nut to crack, and I think that you have to have buy-in from everybody. Thank you.
I just realized this isn't public comment. We can just dialogue. Yeah, that's a great point. There's this qualitative reasoning that goes into why we're trying to fund what we fund. In years past, budget was just something that was done, presented, not, I wouldn't say presented, but just put up in front of us. Yeah, but presented once. And like Karen said, this process didn't happen before. I think this is the change that we wanted to see. So here we are now in this timeline getting that through. With stakeholders throughout the community, throughout the district, the staff, the supervisors, the administrators, they all have an incredible component as to what goes into this budget. And what goes into what we offer as a district. And we do have 2 months of time where it'd be great to be able to, not just have this on paper, dollars and cents numbers, but really kind of see what this budget is presenting and offering to make sure that we're be able to communicate and view and vet what we want to see.
Yeah, only because I'm a visual person myself. Not only do I need to hear it auditorily, but I need to see it to really absorb what's
Yeah.
being said. That's just my learning styles. There you go.
And can I say, so you did mention that there's like 2 months of time to talk about it, but if, James, if you're able to even just reiterate some of the current timeline crunch, even for the reason why we're moving our meeting from the 12th, just to kind of show what it looks like basically from here all the way through to May.
Sure. So state aid numbers are a function of the governor's budget address, which is typically the last Tuesday in February. Because we have a new governor, consistent with prior years where we've had new governors, the legislature has extended that date to March 10th. The DOE then has 48 hours to get our state aid numbers to us, so that is March 12th. So I should get the numbers the morning of March 12th, and the committee will meet in the evening of March 12th. The legislature, surprisingly, has also given the districts some relief on when we need to get our numbers to the county for county review. So that date was, I believe, this 18th of March, has now been moved to the 26th or the 25th, I believe. Hold on, we'll check that out. It's the 25th. So we then are going to meet at the meeting of the 23rd to approve that submission, and that is the tentative budget. Once it gets approved, then we will begin to advertise the user-friendly. That'll go up onto the website, and then once it's approved by the county, we will start then to prepare for the more formal presentation that Dr. Pucci Bender is referring to, which is the public hearing on the budget, which will be, I believe, May 5th or something in that nature.
All right. All right. Thank you, and thank you for that. Oh, did you have something?
Yeah, so I think there's no question about it that the majority of the tax increases are due to the state. It's really easy for the state officials to just do nothing because we have to be the ones that increase the taxes and we're the bad guys. So there's no incentive for them to do anything. So that's not a question, and I think that's the majority of the increase. That being said, I heard that there is no need for cuts or no thoughts for cuts, and I agree with Angela. Like, we need to start thinking about the cuts. There's clearly discussions that we all wanted to have, but we never had, and we all understand where the opportunities to cut, but we haven't had the discussion. So with that, I am definitely not comfortable with the current budget proposal and the increase that was suggested by the budget committee.
I wanted to address I guess two things that you had just mentioned. You said that there's no incentive for the state to do anything. And while many times I agree with that sentiment, I think that the problem that is occurring here across the state is that multiple school districts are in a massive budget deficit. So it's not even, just like little amounts. It's millions and millions and millions of dollars in multiple school districts, 5, 10, multiples of that, even within Bergen County and ongoing. And next year, it's not going to get better. It's going to be worse than it is this year. So the state, even, I'll, forward that article, but it's a crisis. It's a crisis, and it's not even just on education, because it's a state health benefits plan, which also affects the municipalities and like everybody that's in it. Like, we do have the educator plan and things like that. So even when you're making cuts, then, okay, the timelines don't match up, because then the state budget gets approved, and then you find out that you have another 30 or 35% increase on your health benefits next year. That still, by itself, is the 2% cap. The health benefits alone is that. So I would hope that they would realize that this is actually, it's insolvent. So they have to do something because it can't function. There was another thing that you mentioned. You said something about, so one of the questions that you asked about legal fees, I would just want to address it because I had some time this weekend to go through the prior budgets and look at line items and try to figure out, you know, like what numbers are we talking about. So there is a line item in the budget, which I'll just share in the group afterwards, but there's a specific line item in the budget that goes over legal fees from year to year. And so I have legal fees all the way from like 2020, and it's like 2020 to 2021, it was like 97,500, and these are just like your appropriation amounts. The disbursement amounts may be less. What I'm also seeing is that the disbursement amounts compared to the appropriation amounts, it's like the gap is narrowing, and it's also because we are reducing our surplus in every, like our line items all over the place. So the amount of, like, just like James mentioned, that we are going towards being less reliant on our surplus in order to balance our budget, you know, the gap in between like what we're budgeting for and what we're actually paying out is like shrinking year to year. So 2020 to 2021, 97,500, 21 to 22, 115, 117,005. Then it went down to 105 in 23, 24. Sounds like when James got here. When I'm just saying, went down to 105, and then last year 105. This year proposed 105. So $105,000 compared to a $60+ million budget is like less than 0.2%. But if you look at like the increases and decreases, like 21 to 22, you know, like there was an increase of about like 17,500, which was 18%. But then the following year it was like plus 2%, and then the 23, 24, which I told you went down to 105, which is a decrease in about 11%. And 24 and 25, it was flat. And when you look at our current budget in that same line item, it tells you where we are at the 105. It's like 102,000 or so that we've spent out of that, and based on our the total encumbered would tell you, you know, what we're projected to spend based on like current billables. You know, like how much have we committed out of that budget, and it might be a little bit more, but it's still on track. So it's like I hear your ask, but what I'm also hearing from administration in our emails is that the amount, when we had Fogarty and Harrod, they didn't itemize the bills in the way that you're asking. You're asking about like cases and like how, like have our cases increased, or, you know, for special education or things like that. They didn't itemize it that way. Our current legal team does. So I understand that you did receive that, but the amount of time that it would be taking, you know, our team to dedicate to break down something that is, you know, less than 0.2% of our budget, which has pretty much remained flat over the course of these years, is significant and would require like the full board to, you know, ask for things to go in that direction. So this is something that I just did based on the data that's available there in our budget, and I'll share the line items so that you can take a look yourself. But it's a very, 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 very insignificant number, like less than 0.2%.
So for the first part, I agree, like the state might have to get into a crisis mode before our elected officials will act, but you know, that's out of our hands, and hopefully they won't let it get to that point. But so two things to what you said. Like one, even if it's a tiny, put aside the data that I asked about, but even if it's a tiny amount of money that we can save, we should still save. Even if it's a 0.2 of the budget, we should look at every saving. That's one thing. Second thing, if you compare, and that's why the state have like a metrics and a system that every district needs to submit the same format, so we can have a comparison. And if you compare our legal cost to district in Bergen County and district in our size, and if you compare our administrative cost to district in Bergen County and district on our sides, we are I wouldn't say heavily, but we are skewed in the top 1 to 5 districts in the highest spend. So that's my concerns, and that's what I would like to, that we would look at.
So two things about that. The 0.2% represents the entire amount of legal fees, and that goes to everything, not just special education. That's like Oprah requests, that's all contract reviews, that's anytime they have to show up about labor disputes, go to court, that's everything. So the 0.2% isn't what we would be saving. I'm talking about the variance. The variance between the budget years is like extreme, like we're talking about $1,000, $5,000. When we as a board ask the administration to shift from their primary mission and invest 10, 20, 30 hours doing something for us, that also has a cost. So if we're going to ask for, a significant portion, especially while we're here and we're asking for all of these other things, we're asking for them to, start the strategic plan, like we're asking for, a separate discussions about late start. We're asking for, I won't go down, we know what we're asking for. We're asking for all of these things. So if we're asking for that shift for $2,000, that's what I mean. Like the savings isn't 0.2%, that's the entire legal budget. It's more like $2,000. And it does cost, like time is money. So if we're paying, James, which thank you, James, we want to continue to pay you. We're paying you hourly to do something that's also like, are we paying him more money than we're going to save to do something that we're not, it's a wash. So that's what I want you to just consider in that ask. But any questions?
I think contextually, in order to get to a balanced budget, there were, I think it's $800,000 worth of individual cuts across different categories. Some, of course, they're projections. We know that a projection is only as good as what you think it is, but we have it at this point. That's a healthy amount of cuts to get down to this budget, which is still at a 2% increase. So I would say that making sure that we're spending the right amount of time on the right issues, and then also taking the effort. I didn't go back to it, but one of our goals that the district executed was exploring the health insurance processes. Perhaps that could have saved us money, and we spent a lot of time to really find out that it didn't, and it's going to get worse before it gets worse, as the expression goes. So we're budgeting a 30% increase with a projected 30%, 25% increase in the year following. I have no information to say this is going to get better for us. So yeah, we need to save money, but we have millions of increases coming if we don't do the type of thing that we advocated before, to say that we need to collectively work on important issues, bigger ticket items that we can take our voices up and really make an impact in Trenton before it becomes a crisis.
But Dan, just to clarify, you said there was a 2% increase. Maybe it's not 2%. Do you want to review what it's at?
I'm describing the 2% statutory cap. Yeah, this requires a lot of description. Happy to review it all the time. So year over year, school districts are allowed by the state to increase their budget up to 2%. If you think about the things that Glen Rock has paid for over the years, which includes the expansion in Hamilton, we should really have thought about how to not do that through an increase in tax revenue. Something like that could have come through a referendum, where you're going out and you're convincing the our neighbors, that this is a thing that we all want. When you do that, there's state dollars that come in that do help support some of that. Getting to your point, because it all comes together. On top of which, and I think this is what you're wanting to hear, there's an additional significant increase above that 2% allowance because of the increase in health care. James is trying to beat this into my head. I'm doing my job to do my best to keep up and learn with it. You're not allowed to increase your budget more than 2% every year, except for exemptions, which is how New Jersey writes all of its laws. Exemptions are if 200 kids move into town and we need to suddenly build a new building. There's one other category that he'll correct me on later, and then this third one is healthcare. Healthcare is exploding our budget right now. So dollar for dollar, I think the proper number is about 5.5%. And I'm describing 2% because that's really our operational budget exclusive of this health insurance
Just to
issue.
be clear to the public, it's 6.26% for the whole amount that we can take.
So, fine. The 6.6 is, sorry, 6.2 is that the increase to the levy or the increase to the rate?
The 6.26 is the increase of the levy on the operating budget. When you factor in the debt service fund, which is the cost of principal and interest on past referendums, because we were able to refinance the 2016 refunding bonds, we were able to save money, which then brought the effective levy increase, or the total levy increase, down from the 626 to 5.62. So I just would like to add a couple other things. So there's one instance where we have saved the district money by going out and pursuing that refunding. We've also saved the district money in terms of our photocopier costs this year, at $30,000 from the contract that you just approved. We did a Verizon data line audit this past year that saved us $35,000. So we are actively looking to cut costs or save money as much as we can. But the item that I like to use more often than not is a cut that's really not a cut, and that's our buildings and grounds budget. Our buildings and grounds budget has been the same since I got here, despite historic levels of inflation. I mean, we all know when we've done things at our home that the cost of just lumber during that period of time has been incredible. So I think that there are savings that don't necessarily pop out of the page as being a number that's lower, but it's a number that could have very well been higher. But we have done a lot of work, for instance, in buildings and grounds as an example, to not bring in third-party contractors, but to do jobs, but to do it ourselves. I can tell you that the amount of tools that we have purchased, that, to be quite frank, was surprising that we didn't have them, right? To help us with different plumbing and different HVAC type expenditures. So I think that there are places where we have saved. It just doesn't pop out of the page because they could have been higher. And I think buildings and grounds is like one of those places where it particularly stands out.
I'd say even like, a recent item that we had was the purchase of the bus with the emergency fees.
There'll be another
And
one.
that helped us to then now be able to transport with the larger bus in-house our athletic teams. The coordination now, thank you to our leadership team. We have much easier coordination now with the borough, and to try and work on sharing services, communicating very regularly, using each other's resources, planning that way. I know the mayor's expressed wanting to have a joint meeting. She and I had talked about that maybe like 2 years ago, and are going to have it this year. I feel confident that we're going to have it this year, and find even more ways to either reduce costs within the borough, share services that are possible, innovate where possible, utilize each other's resources. That is what we're doing, and need to continue to innovate on.
The only thing that I'd also like to add is the 6.26% increase on the operating budget. That's been a number that's been out in the public. I've said it as early as, I believe it was November. It was said again in January. So that number has been out there. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. In addition, I believe I have been putting immense pressure on our association of Bergen County Business Administrators to get the survey results that will tell us all of the towns in Bergen County that respond to the survey of what their anticipated levy increases are going to be. Anecdotally, and I don't like to deal in anecdotal stories, they are all in the range, if not higher, than ours. So just from a contextual perspective, it's not a Glen Rock issue, it is a systemic issue.
And there are towns all around us that have yet to balance their budget, that don't actually have a balanced budget yet.
Damali, can I add? I want to add to something that you said and give some context to it, even though I don't like being an alarmist. That's not my intent. But from my sources, I've been told from the county and the state level that there are 15 school districts that are going to be $4 million in a deficit, and there are more to come. That was the exact words. More districts to come. So that's why when I get a little, hyper about it, it's because, the concern. I don't want to be one of those districts. I know and I trust that we're not, but I just, it's an innate fear, right?
And sometimes it's decisions like this, in raising the tax levy to the extent that we're asking you to, is that we prevent getting to those points. I would venture to say that if you looked at some of those districts and go back, you will see that they had left tax increase money on the table in past years that in some cases self-perpetuated the deficits.
Oh, yep.
So again, just wanted to lend my voice in recognition of all the work that was done by the committee and the leadership. Love having a robust conversation. And Angela, I just want to go back to something that you had mentioned earlier, talking about when you're, facing inflation and higher bills, you look to tighten the budget at home. And I think tightening a budget at home means that comprehensive review of where is money outgoing. But at the same time, there are things that you safeguard. And then there are things that you say, well, we'll do an analysis on this and we'll understand what the impacts are to our family if we cut this out. And so I think that's where, thank you, I think that's kind of, where I've landed at the end of this. Yes, next year we are facing something very difficult, but I think for right now we have a balanced budget, and that's where I've landed. Let's look at the things that we would need to look at for years to come, but through a thorough analysis and not just a reaction.
To point out the comment about 2% and balanced, it makes no sense if you just say, well, we have a 6.2% increase, but we're only increasing at 5.6, and we're balancing at 2%. This is why this is confusing, and this is why people get mad. And I think half of this is why we're all sitting here. The concept of balancing is to that 2%, and it's.
Well, I asked you only because we weren't speaking numbers, we were all speaking generalities, and I think it's important to speak the actual numbers since this is a public meeting.
Yeah, and that 2% is.
It's easy to make it confusing, and it's easy to make the point, and it's really easy to say, well, this is like, we don't want to cut, this is like what we care about. But yes, there's things that I would not touch, like I would not touch the teachers. However, the administration cost in Glen Rock, New Jersey is one of the highest in Bergen County. I can tell you the exact number, 11.13% of our total budget goes to administration. This is I think it's like the highest in Bergen County. So we should have a full and honest conversation about the things that we can and should look at the cutting. However, when I asked for looking at cutting, they said, no, we cannot do that in the middle, and then the other side we cannot look at cutting. So this is where we are, and again, it's really easy to say, oh, it's confusing, it's a lot of things, and we cannot. That's why just approve it and say 2%. But it's not. When you start looking at the data and understanding what's things, you understand where's the issues are.
Mr. Cohen, you had an hour in our session. You extended it. It was great. You had a 30-minute session. I said, unfortunately, we had to keep it to your timeline. You extended it because you care about this so much. We both wasted our weekend lobbing emails back and forth at each other, if that's how you feel. I took all of your considerations very deliberately, and like I said many times tonight, we can take good ideas but make them actionable. And what I said to the entire board tonight is we need to take all these ideas back to the committee and now have the committee work on them. So rest assured, certainly rest, because it's our job now to take everything that you put forward. If you have any more further info, I know you sent me some details, some numbers. They were a little bit, I wouldn't call them cherry-picked, but they were specific to what the point you were trying to make. I think the whole committee would love to see the full volume of that data anytime. I already said my email, and you know it. So don't worry, it's happening, but keep on giving us the data that you want us to look at, and we'll do it.
I'd also like to make a comment here. The numbers that are out there in terms of administrative caps. So there are caps based upon the north, the south, and I believe the central that are built into the budget software that we have to maintain. They're also outlined in the taxpayer's guide to educational spending. And what it does is it takes costs, not as a percentage of the total budget, but a percentage of students, which the state, the way the state reviews us, that's the way they use it, not administrative costs over total budget. And when you look at that, and I can provide you with this data if you'd like. I think I've given you a chart for it. I could give you the actual data. From 2014-15 school year to the 25-26 school year, that numbers range from $2,045 per student to $2,875 per student. And in each and every one of those years, Glen Rock is below that average cap. Okay, and that average is calculated based upon the previous year's submitted budgets by all of the districts. So I don't see, by using the information in the taxpayer's guide, where we are more expensive. A business administrator, under the math that you're doing, right? A business administrator is a business administrator is a business administrator, right? But for instance, we are a $64 million budget. My salary, as a percentage of that, is going to be higher than if we had a $102 million budget. And that, we're just a small district, that's the fact. And when we have the same things that other districts have, like supervisors, we are going to trend higher because it's a smaller denominator. And that's why I would recommend that you take a look at the taxpayer's guide, which it gives you each school all over the state and really gives you some good ideas, because, you know, while I dislike the state's budget software immensely, what it does do very well is it makes sure that you do not exceed the various thresholds, like the administrative cap, like the legal cap. It just says, nope, you can't submit a budget. So I welcome the comments, but I would love to get an understanding beyond just this calculation of actual over our total budget, because that, what I concede, will always going to be higher. A social studies teacher who's at top of the guide as a percentage of our budget is going to be higher than any district that has a budget that's larger than ours.
I just want to step in 1 second, just because, you know, I've heard, you know, what you've said. I've heard other board members have asked the same question, or any member of the community that's asked that. I've heard also what our administration has stated. And, you know, Notebook LM is a LLM that does use some AI tools that is within our Google Suite. Like an AI model, like ChatGPT is one, OpenAI stuff, like, yes. So it's one that is, you know, keeps our information, you know, safeguarded, but it does give us access. So I was able to put in some of the information that's from the school performance data, like that comes from the state, and one compared across Bergen County with the supervisors, as well as some of our metrics, because really it's not just, individual groupings of either teachers, administrators, or like whatever. It's like, what do we want to be as a district? So what do we want our children's achievement to be? How does that compare? All of those things. And so looking at some of the ELA scores or the cost per student and things like that, and then breaking that down between Bergen County and even further breaking it down to the I and J districts that we, constantly use to compare. And it doesn't tell that story. I'll share the information with you, but it doesn't, when you look at our student achievement, it's actually, higher than most of the Bergen County and the I and J districts. When you look at our costs for like administration, it trends somewhere close to the middle. And it's not enough for you to say like what if we were like, I'm just gonna throw this out, like 60%. Well, we're higher than the average, but like 10%, like how do you like adjust for just like 5, 10, 2%, or like over plus or minus? We're not an outlier. We're pretty solidly in the middle. And so one, it's like, yes, trust, but then also like verify and take that information. And I just could not replicate the sentiment that like it's well known that we are, top heavy, or it's well known that compared to other districts or our comparable districts that we are outliers. I don't see that we're outliers. So taking that we're also looking at student achievement as our priority, our kids are our priority, and you commonly brought up that we're trying to achieve as the same levels as like Ridgewood or Fair Lawn or Northern Valley or whatever it is. Many of these districts, if not all of the ones that I name, also have similar structure to what we have. So if we are able to balance our budget and keep our resources focused on our children and then determine how we want to right size in the future, that is what that's just how I'm looking. So I'm happy to send you kind of like what I've worked on. Like, thank you, Ed, for helping a lot with like generating these prompts, but I just couldn't replicate it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I uploaded to Google them all the Bergen County budgets from last year, and I got to this. So we're happy to look at and compare.
Thanks.
I'm just going to circle back and
Yeah.
bring us all to hopefully a close on the conversation. Again, my primary concern is I just want to be sure that, I've dedicated 40 plus years, and I'm still doing it, of my life to my career in education. So I am very invested in how children do, especially our children in this community. Let's make no mistake about that. But again, my question was at one point in our meeting, we have to differentiate between what is a want and what is a need. And if we can, I ask, again, if that can just be, taken into consideration and reviewed, that would make me very happy. And I'm thinking that maybe we can find some more, something else that may be able to be, I don't want to use the word sacrificed, because if it's a want, it's not really a sacrifice, right?
No, and it's a good
Thank
point,
you.
Dr. Pujibender, and that's why I'm excited about the strategic planning work that I really think that we need to do, and so that we're having those conversations about what is it that we value as a community, what is it we value the various stakeholders and all that, so that we are aligned with that, so that we can make those decisions about that. I am, as you know, very supportive of the work that the supervisors are doing. You saw it in our district goals. Most of those are being led by them. The instructional work that they are doing is really important. I value that, but we need to hear from everybody and make sure that this is the direction we are all wanting to go, right? When it comes to not just test scores, but when it comes to the social and emotional learning, when it comes to the whole kid, when it comes to all of those things. And those are the conversations we have to have. And I think we had this conversation in the micro-budget meetings, that the appropriate way to plan budgets is to start with that big picture, where are we going, and we're all rowing in the same direction, and then start lining up what does the structure look like, and what is the those are the conversations we need to have, absolutely.
And whereas we have attempted to have this kind of conversation in the past and found ourselves unsuccessful, you have a definitive timeline for these conversations, right? There's no ambiguity about when, how, what. There is a very clear timeline. Within, our next meeting, we're talking about strategic planning, and we're talking about doing committee work. We're talking about moving forward on various initiatives. We're talking about that early and vigorously, right? So everyone is empowered on this board, right? So let's get to work. Moving on to the new business item, the dental insurance renewal.
Got back just in time.
Some good news.
Savings?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were able to work with our benefits consultant for our Delta Dental plan, which expires in June. We were able to get a 3% increase for next year, so that's 26, 27, and then flat for 27, 28. So we have some nice cost certainty in our dental. 3% is from what was shared on the lower side of the renewal rates, and so we were pretty excited when we got that number back. Hopefully, I will have a proposal from Delta for the board to approve, and then we can be off to the races. So good news on the dental insurance side.
All right, thank you. It is good news. Nothing for operations. Any liaison reports? Any HSA or anything? I know this Friday is Central School's centennial. They're celebrating our 100th year. So I actually did just write like a positive note from the Board of Education, which I'll share. I'll send it. I'll also send that out to you. But I went to get it framed, so I'm going to donate this personally. With some of the older pictures that I had worked with Kathy Walter, who not only is like a wonderful teacher here, but she's also in the Glen Rock Historical Society. And so she sent me some digital pictures that I went and I'm getting them put into kind of like this big shadow box thing no, she did not send you.
No. Recently, somebody donated to the Historical Society a stack of glass negatives from the 20s of old photos of Glen Rock. And she heard through the grapevine that I have a dark room at home, and so I developed some of the pictures, including one of Central School from probably 1926 or something, and one of the fire station, I think. The rest were all kind of places in town, but anyway, it's pretty cool. But it was,
I don't know.
So one
she
of them
sent me,
may well have been.
It might have been, and I don't know. I told the company that I'm working with to just take creative license on choosing which ones to put because of the color scheme and like the resolution and things like that. But I'll share it I'll definitely share it when I get it. I'll make sure to send you all pictures of what it looks like, and it's really cool. Like one of the original Central School was actually in the parking lot of the current Central School, and it was a house, and that's gone. And so then Central School was built, later, and it's just really cool to see some of the pictures as well. So I'll just send you the pictures and stuff. It was nice, but yeah, we're celebrating 100th year for the 25 to 26 school year. So that's it.
Dr. Robinson, on an anecdotal note, we know that this school was there and that house was there because not too many years ago, a sinkhole opened up in the parking lot of Central, and we saw the foundations of all those buildings.
Oh.
Excellent.
On to Operations, Buildings and Grounds Committee. That's great. No sinkhole anymore. Excellent. So meeting location for closed session.
Last
It is
time,
warmer.
a trustee brought up the temperature in this room and just kind of the hospitality of this room sometimes. And moving this meeting to another location would be prohibitive because we have the sound system in here and we don't want to replicate it in another room. But what we are considering as a compromise, two things, we have the wall closed. I think that maybe that's helping with the heat, keeping in here. 68. It's 68, he says, so I think it feels warmer to me.
I'm
and
very
then-
warm.
You're very warm. And then actually, the reason this is on the agenda for conversation is, the other compromise we can offer is, we could certainly have closed session not here. We could meet in the library in one of the classrooms, we could meet in the board office, we could meet some other places, we could figure that out. It'd also allow Keith and the student staff here to set up while we're in closed and public could come in and sit and be ready for us so that when we come in. It's something that we could consider, but I wanted to bring it to all of you because it's your meeting. And I'll sit
Before we
wherever you
talk
want.
about that, I'd just like to thank you for closing the walls there and accommodating. I think it's slightly warmer this time, so thank you.
You're imagining it, Christine.
Oh.
You don't feel it blowing.
So
Maybe
thank
we
you.
can find in the budget to put in the media center the same
Maybe so.
setup. I'm just throwing it out there.
We were talking about tightening belts,
about
Dr.
budget.
Fuchs.
Tightening belts.
Tightening belts.
Okay. But yeah, so is there an interest in, I think that there would be one, I would say, I definitely felt a difference walking in here. So I definitely felt the difference. But then, yes, there's a temperature that he's been monitoring and texting me about all meeting. No, I'm joking. Do we want to move closed session into like a smaller environment? One, there's the benefit, just like what Mr. Van Ness said. I think that actually by itself is also a good idea because having our staff and our support set up is helpful. Having members of the public able to come in and sit down and then we arrive after our closed session is a good idea anyway, but we also commonly in our closed sessions move our tables together. So if we were in a different room, we would just be sitting right next to each other. So do you want to do that and investigate? Straw poll, yes?
Yes.
All right, so whichever, if you could please make a recommendation, and I think either or any of those options is fine.
This
All
is
right.
very exciting.
Okay.
I'm glad you're excited.
Yes.
Question before we close. So we had a discussion in the last board meeting about the later start time for the middle school and the high school, and I think we got a lot of emails from the community, definitely the most about the subject since I joined. And I just want to understand, like, what's the next steps in the exploring the option or looking at the community as I requested.
Yeah, so we have had about maybe a dozen people email us about that. And you know, we're listening, absolutely. So I talked with administration a week or two ago and said probably we're going to put together a committee to explore it, right? Because there are a lot of moving pieces there. Every district has a different, you know, structure physically, you know, as far as moving kids around and such. So I'll put together a committee of folks and we'll look into what that looks like for Glen and make a recommendation.
And as I believe you said, you already have kind of a committee that's kind of working, like Challenge Success as
Challenge
well?
Success is more
Or
about,
that's
I was tempted to bring it up earlier. I went to their Challenge Success meeting last week. It's more about the main thing that they're focusing on right now is student engagement at the high school. And so, I mean, it's related. If you're sleepy in the morning, I imagine you're less engaged. So I think that, you know, yes? Okay. So I think that there's maybe an overlap there. But I think this would be this wouldn't.
Something separate.
Yeah, there should be something separate. So I'll put together something like that. And it's going to have to involve, you know, as normal, lots of the stakeholders, because while some folks might very much like that, it might also cause hardships for drop-off or pickup, and I don't know what it's going to do to traffic, and all of those things are questions that we'll look into.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our next meeting date is March 23rd. We know Budget Committee meets
And
sooner.
that is a change. Remember to mark that in your calendar. That is a
Yes.
change, March 23rd.
Yes. And so now it's 10:14. We'll open for our second set of public comments. Please state your name, address. 3 minutes. You've been patient, Sanjeev. Thank you.
Sanjeev Ori, 131 Fairmount Avenue, Glen Rock, and thank you for your comment. We are spending too much time discussing on things that doesn't matter. Going through the agenda item to tell me, okay, thank you for that. I think you guys are in trouble, and I think the town is in trouble because the previous guys who was sitting right next to you with the empty seat created all these problems, and I say that with all conviction because you guys spent $4 million and lights in the lower soccer field without going for a referendum. Bad idea. And I have no reservation saying the leadership at that time had no clue how to run this board of ed, the school districts. That's why we're in trouble. Hopefully we will charge, things will change. Committees, I think this board needs those committees. So that is a step in the right direction. I think you should have finance committee, which is a critical one. The way I look at it when I was on the board was the safety, security, education, and the finance. They're all interrelated. You can't have a good education if there is no safety and security for the kids. But I can talk to you separately how to do it. You want to make sure the finance committee is, the people in the finance committee are there also part of some other committees because so that's how everything rolls up. I think I also want to say I learned about the school board from the best at that time, Barbara Stewart and Rona. I spent 3 years in the boring committee called policy committee.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's where you learn about the school district, how to run. Every single word that you write in there, if you don't have time to spend, don't join that meeting because you will be creating a lot of problem for this town. You want to learn, join the policy committee. You would do a good job to this school district. Another thing is, I'm going to talk about is, I don't hear any efficiencies talking about the budget, right? We're all complaining about 30%, healthcare cost went up. It's norm. It's always going to go up. Next year it's going to go up. But I'm not looking, I didn't see any efficiency. People are somehow very emotionally attached to the supervisor position. Oh, I don't want to fix the class size because I want to have a smaller class size. You got to make a rational decision without emotions to what is good for the school district, because a lot of people in this town, I would say close to 90% have no clue that you mentioned, hey, the budget is going to go 5.5 or 6.2. 90% population in this town have no clue. People who attend HSA, they are aware of what's happening. Rest of the population, they have no clue. So it's good you share some PowerPoints. We had the templates when I was on the board. It was a good PowerPoint template. These are the dates we are going to discuss. These are the numbers we have. Last 10 years of budget, how it went up. If you can share those PowerPoints, I think that will be very helpful for people like me who care about this town. I want to know we're providing the best education within our financial framework, the limitation. Going to the 2% increase, I think it will be difficult, but going to the 5 and 6, I think that is just too much. Look for some efficiencies, you will find it.
If you're able to.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no additional members of the public, we are closed for public comments at 10:18 p.m. I need a motion to, that the regular public meeting of March 2nd be adjourned, and we are actually, I need a motion to return to closed session after tonight's meeting to discuss personnel matters where no additional action will be taken and the board will not return to public session. So I need a motion. Liz Calva, seconded by Ed Hayward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right.